Cad, or Jim Bouquet, sorry. And also included a person that we didn't appoint at the time should the council decide to do something with an appointment there. And then we have a Parks and Rec appointment. I think, is that everything, Stephanie? Mm-hmm. So council looking for a motion to adopt the agenda with those 4 additions.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, April.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. A pledge of allegiance, council.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public participation. First up tonight, we have Dave Pasenda, Bill Henneman, Roger Johnson. Let's talk about the MIA Veterans Park across the lake. Come on up, gentlemen. One or all. Welcome. It's a later agenda item, but we asked everybody to sign up, so if they want to leave, they don't have to stay for 3 hours on a Wednesday night.
Well, I'm Dave Pasenda, and I'm here with Bill and Ed Waters and Roger, and we represent the CBA and the American Legion. And as you know, the CBA has been involved in many projects in town, from painting houses to painting hydrants to doing all kinds, restoring the wall, doing different things. We looked at the far side of the lake where that bucket was in that little park, and we thought it would be a good place to improve. And so we started working with Stephanie and the city foreman Larry, and we received a grant from Owens Foundation to fund this project. And so far the city removed 3 trees for us, and they removed the sod where we're going to put 2 little slabs and we're going to put a couple of picnic tables, a fire ring, and a pavilion, like the little roofs over those 2 slabs. We have the finance to do it. With the city's in-kind service, it's making it possible. We had one request is that right now that the sod is removed, but we need fill. And we're asking the city if they would donate 20 yards of class 5 for that project. And then the other thing was like Fern and Shea is going to build our tables. L&L Rental donated the equipment, the forms, and the equipment to pour the slabs. And we're going to hire somebody that's knows concrete, and we'll work with them to put in those slabs. And there was one other thing that was brought to my attention that's similar with this project, is to move the other bucket. One time we were told they wanted both those buckets moved. Well, we moved one to the Bruce Mine, and the architects for Bruce Mine said they would like the other one and incorporate it into the entryway to that Bruce Mine project. So if you would approve that, we could get that moved. Other than that, the other thing is what I'm working on is I got from the city engineer, I got the forms or the telephone number to request, because the curb, I guess, is the County Highway 67. And I don't know if they gave you that. I gave it to the girl, the little sketch, you know, to, instead of having that sort of like a U-shaped swing in there to park, we'd make like parallel, or not parallel, but vertical parking, maybe for 4 spots or something like that. But it's oh, and one other thing, at that site there's that signs for athletic and you know, people that did things for Chisholm. And one of our members, Pastor Dan, contacted the school and asked them if they would accept that sign, moving that sign either up to the sports complex area or by the school. And he received an affirmative that they would accept that sign if we would remove it. And so we're sprucing that area up, that's what we're doing. So thank you very much for listening to me. And-
Dave, so the main request, the Bruce Mine bucket, you're just looking for approval, you'll try to find somebody to move that thing?
Yeah.
Or I
Yeah,
should say
we
the
worked-
bucket for the Bruce Mine.
Yeah, we worked with Larry and we'll get it moved, if you say we can move it.
20 yards, class 5.
Yeah,
And then, what did you say about the curb cut again? That you,
well,
It's just an access permit that he needs from the
Yeah,
county.
from the
It's off of
county.
Okay.
road, not off of our roads.
okay, so you,
we'll-
pretty small request today.
Yeah, it's not much. See, we got financing to do this project, and same with the Bruce we got. And the Bruce is a little slow, maybe we need a little push from the city, maybe to say Bob Mansley or ERI to grow on our grant maybe or something, because they got the contract and they got the money, and just, and we took one stumbling block out from, they wanted to put, or we wanted them to put shivs up on top, and it was sort of controversial, I'd say, and so we took that stumbling block away, and they can just put shivs on the ground with literature explaining what they are and that. So they told us at the last meeting about a week ago, Roger, was it, or 2 weeks ago, that it's supposed to be a goal now. So that's what we're hoping.
Good.
Mr.
Sounds-
Anything else?
Good, April.
Mr. Pacenda, were you also looking for 4 spots for the diagonal parking as well? To ask Larry and his crew to make some paint marks for diagonal parking? Is that what you were asking?
Well, I have to go through the county first, right, to get
Okay.
permission. Because that right of way, there's only about 2-3 feet or something, wasn't it, you showed me? It wasn't very much, just a curb in that, it has to be removed, but it's county and that, so, but I got the information to contact the right people to get that permit.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Pacenda.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, so next we have, says Dwayne Johnson, I guess everybody calls him Dewey, and he has an assistant with him. We're gonna talk about severe weather notification. We know that siren isn't quite working. We know we wanna look at doing something. I think what we're gonna talk about tonight is possibly an alternate way of doing this. Jess, do you wanna start and take it, or just go up with them, or how do you want to do this?
Sure. I'm good. We're all over the tube. Up to you.
So it is a council agenda item under my name later on, talking about alternatives to the tornado siren. And my suggestion is that we start considering going with Everbridge for notifications. I know we were initially subscribed to it, but there's some new technology involved with Everbridge for emergency notifications, and that's what I brought in Dewey for. He is the emergency manager for St. Louis County, and much more the expert on the Everbridge capabilities than I am, so.
All right, thanks. Dewey Johnson, St. Louis County Emergency Management, 27 years. City of Chisholm was on the Everbridge system. So what is Everbridge? Everbridge is a notification system that does phone call, text, and email. It can be used a couple different ways. We'll break it up into 2 pieces. One is the employee side, one is the public side. I'll start with the employee side. The City of Chisholm was using it for Larry's using public works call outs, fire department, PD can use it however they choose. The library was using it on the public side for public messaging. You can use, there's no limit to the users. You can use as many times as you want. There's no other fees other than the annual fee. So St. Louis County is the contract holder for Everbridge for the entire county. And then we bill the entities that want to use it on a per capita basis. With the new features and things, the funding, the amount for Chisholm will be just over $1,500 a year. And that's billed by the county out annually, typically about April or May. The public side, there's a couple different branches on it. One is Northland Alert, which Chisholm did a very good job. He did some campaigns. People went in, they created an account, signed up, picked for the subscriptions they wanted to receive, and those were pushed out by the people that we had come up and trained on how to do that. There's also a branch called IPAWS, which is Integrated Public Alert and Warning. That works similar to an Amber Alert, where if, say, a fire had a hazmat response, and they call dispatch, we need to evacuate the city of Chisholm. Dispatch can draw a circle on a map around Chisholm and push a message out to every phone that's affiliated, basically turned on in that area, and they'll get that message, whether they're registered or not. So if you've got visitors from out state, they're gonna get that message. Okay? The other side is the voluntary subscription side, where you go in and say, I want to get messages from the library or the police department or something like that. And that works pretty well. What we've done now is that they come out with a product called community engagement. Basically what it is they go out and buy information from Google, Amazon, Post Office, they pull in the parcel layers from the county, package it together just for public safety, and we purchased that, and we have 8,500 contacts for St. Louis County, a population of 200,000. That's how many people went on and created an account. When we loaded that, we went to 110,000. And that's boost your connections for the community. A situation where this would be helpful is like St. Louis had a gas main hit last winter, and they wanted everybody east of Lake Avenue to turn their furnaces down. All the contacts they have are the ones that have gone in and built that account. With this now, we would have 10 times the contacts, cell numbers, phone numbers, landline phone numbers, things like that. So it makes the system a lot more powerful. Again, that's public safety messages only. The IPAWS portion of it is done through dispatch. That's the only one that can push those messages out to every phone that's on in that area. We've used it a couple of times for wildfire up in the Ely area. Go on the circle and now push that message out. So the system is there. It's a countywide system. City of Hibbing is using it. Virginia is using it. Floodwood, Lakewood Township, City of Duluth, City of Public Works uses it. For their customers, they have them sign on and they'll say, hey, the water's gonna be out from noon to 2 tomorrow. Your gas is gonna be out. They're probably the biggest user of that. We're probably the second biggest user. We're sending 15,000 messages a quarter. Overtime through the jail, overtime from the sheriff's office, dispatch, public works call-outs for snow removal and things like that. So the users decide how they want to be notified. Not this generation, it's usually a text message, and then an email, it's not a phone call. So it's really defined by the user. We'll provide all the training for free. We'll come up, several times with Larry and library staff, and pretty responsive. So the company's also available for 24/7 support. Everbridge, as you guys are users also, you can call the number 24/7. It's answered in Nebraska and talk to a real person. And the support's actually been really good. So we're really happy with the system. We've been on it about 6 or 7 years now. It hasn't failed us yet. Questions?
Yeah, I got a couple. So our reason for looking into this is bad weather, tornadoes. So who pushes that out? And what are your resources to, when somebody calls in and says they've seen a tornado in Hibbing, you can push it out in Chisholm that there was a tornado spotted in Hibbing, or how do you do that?
So the Weather Service does the weather side of it. We have the weather, initially when we have the weather component on Everbridge, and it's an extra service we pay for. When we set it up, we didn't know what we were doing, but we weren't quite sure all the selections. And people went in and signed up, and every lightning strike within 25 miles, their phone was going off, and I was getting death threats. So we cut that back. Basically now it's tornado warnings, it's blizzard warnings, and the big things. We don't do the wind warnings, and it's just got to be too monotonous. And let's face how many weather apps do you have on your phone now that are dinging when the weather comes. You could have selected users push that message out yourself. If it's a tornado type situation, dispatch would be able to help, not for watches and that kind of stuff is coming from the Weather Service, but dispatch would be able to help with those the imminent type things. Or your police department, we can set them up as they can right from their phone on the app. It's literally takes 4 seconds to push out a message. And we can set you up with however many users you want to be able to do that also.
And you mentioned that it's the emergency weather type of one. The residents aren't really signing up for it. You're looking at who's in this area,
Correct.
who's actually like on the local cell networks and stuff. So if I was 100 miles away, I may get the message if it's something going on in Chisholm because I have a Hibbing cell number.
Correct, so if we use that resident connect piece, and it's using your address as a location, if it's sending that to your phone, you're gonna get no matter where, if you're down at Aruba on the beach, you're gonna get that message. If it's an iPod situation where we're drawing a specific area on a map, and it's only those phones that are affiliated with a tower site in that ring, then you're not gonna get it, because you're not
Yeah.
physically there.
Okay.
But if we're using that file that has your contact info, in it, you're gonna get that no matter where you're at.
Okay,
Correct.
interesting.
It's fun. We have a lot of parents that sign up with all the college population in the loop, Scholastica, UMD, their kids are out there. The parents are signing up to get notifications, so they can kind of keep tabs on what's going on, and they're in the metro.
Okay. Council, other questions for Dewey? We'll be taking it up later tonight under,
And
Jess, I
actually
believe.
have a question for you. With the iPods, does that strike on the VoIPs and the landlines as well, or is that just with the cell phones?
Just the cell
In the
phone.
polygon, okay.
Yep. Completely cell based.
Thank you.
all right, appreciate you coming down. We'll take it up later tonight.
All right.
All right, next we have signed up tonight Julie Marinucci. She's going to talk about the Downtown Beautification Committee request for a vacant lot, 360 West Lake Street. That's on the agenda later as well. Good evening, Julie.
Good evening, thank you. Here on behalf of the Chisholm Downtown Revitalization Committee, wanted to just get you up to speed. There's of our main project for the summer that we're working on. There's a vacant lot next to Ivanza Insurance. City owned, it's been that way for a while. It was one of the options we looked at when we were doing the Pocket Park a few years ago. And what we're working on this time is just a simple visual screening of the back part of the lot. We're partnering with United Taconite on kind of an industrial vibe to it and repurposing some, we're debating between concentrator screen panels or some 3/4 inch cutout plate material that they've got. It's essentially scrap from the mine that we're playing with a few different concepts. And the intent is set back kind of a screen about 10 feet, 15 feet back from the edge of the sidewalk. Slope it down and grade it so the water continues to flow to the back lot like it has been. Put probably some class 5 down. We're not gonna pour the whole thing again just because the intent hopefully is that something will be done with the lot down the line, whether it be redeveloped with one of the neighboring businesses. But this is just a way to provide a visual screen to the lot. We've got funding from the Chisholm Community Foundation through our fiscal agent Kids Plus in the amount of $5,000 for this project. And so we'll kind of see, depending on what we get, in-kind support and support like donations from United Taconite. We'll see exactly what we end up doing with that. The hope would be some sort of seating, whether it's proper benches or some sort of boulder type, resting places. It'll be kind of a little bit of a different feel to the space than than like the Pocket Park that we did that was a lot more of a formal space. And just wanted to float that by the council, make sure there isn't any major red flags. Installation for the vertical supports will be through sonotube and some type of a square stock steel going up to support whatever we have fixed to it. We're thinking maybe some old bike tires as sort of pulling that bike theme into the downtown. So there's a few different ideas, so we welcome suggestion and creative ideas. Sometimes we, as engineers, get to be very linear in our thinking, so the creative folks, let us know what you think. But other than that, I think that's just, we wanted to see if there's any major red flags. The goal was for all class. It's looking a little tight right now. That's not gonna happen. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Julie. We love the little parks. People use them. They're playing music in the one that was done, and they're good. What else you do with them?
Yeah, no, the city support for the music this summer has been has been really great. I mean, we get excellent attendance. When the ice cream truck can come, that's always a big sell, and it's been a lot of fun, so no, really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it.
One
Council
question.
Marty?
Are you gonna keep an opening in the back for people to get through, or you're not gonna block it off?
No, it'll be, that was one of the concerns that was brought up when we did the pocket park, was making sure that there's the ability to get front to back, and
Yeah.
so that'll be accommodated on either side, and we're not gonna do anything to the back of it, it'll just stay
Oh, I
kind
see.
of,
Okay,
it'll just stay
Okay.
kind of
all right.
overgrown and maybe, random parking for whatever gets parked back there, so
Okay,
that part won't change.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, next person signed up tonight, Bob Stearns, Todd Schnorr Mud Fest, Fishing with Vets. Good evening.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Thanks for having us here tonight to talk. We have a proposal in with you guys tonight for discussion for the 9th annual Schnorr Mud Fest. This event that's been happening in Chisholm for the past 8 years. It's exponentially grown in the past, and this year's probably not going to be any different, pending approval of the Council Mayor. We realized that in our proposal, we left out a few gaps in time that we'd like to fill in for you guys prior to discussing it tonight. We asked for the street closure to start at 8 a.m., and this is on Saturday, September 10th. And we're still looking for it to start at 8. Our ATV lineup will start at shortly after 8:30 in that ballpark. Our schedule for the day, Valentini has generously donated their back rooms to us to host a craft fair. So we will have approximately 30 booths as a craft show in the back of Valentini's. That's going to run from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our ATV ride will start approximately 10 a.m. and leave town. They'll parade over Freedom Bridge and past the nursing home once again like we did last year. The only addition to that is this year we are adding a classic car show downtown, and we are hoping that the cars will be able to line up and follow the EMS services through town and go past the nursing home as well before the ATVs get there. They'll come up Highway 73 and enter the blocked off street area on Main Street and line up for the classic car show, which will start at 11 a.m. and continue through 3 p.m. while the ATVs are out of town and on their ride. During that time, we're hoping to have family-friendly and kids-friendly activities. We haven't quite figured out everything with that yet, but we're looking at having bounce houses and working with some other local groups to get some activities for kids to do and get some attendance downtown. We're gonna have food trucks and food vendors. Currently, as it sits, we have 6 individual vendors signed up to be there. Possibly 8 different items at this point, but 6 vendors individually. ATVs will return to town approximately 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We will begin our raffle downtown. We do our big cash raffle and door prizes. And that'll run until approximately 7 p.m. when the band will start. We'll have a band from 7 to 11 p.m. And at that point, we will back up the streets and be done. We are planning another fireworks display at dusk. And pending approval from the council, we'll seek permits from Mandy and zoning once we get an approval from the council to host the event. Once again, this year, we have contracted with PC Pyrotechnics. They did the event last year. Then it'd be the same this year. The bridge would need to be closed from noon to midnight. He does his setup, and hourly he does test shots to verify windage and make sure that we're safe to do the fireworks display after dark. That includes the bridge for vehicle traffic as well as pedestrian traffic. Last year, we ran into some incidents with people wanting to walk across the bridge, and that's against everything he's permitted for. So police chief took action on that. We shut down the bridge quickly, so we appreciate that. We'll officially call an end to the event at midnight, and at that point, the city streets would be reopened. And we just need 11 to midnight to get things cleaned up, the fireworks display, make sure everything's picked up on the bridge, and get the band and the stage off the street prior to City Works taking down the barricades. So what we're asking for tonight, we're looking to have the noise ordinance extended until 11 p.m. on September 10th. City services, They're hoping to be provided in kind as has been in the past. That's police, city works, and EMS. That's 11. And I think that's everything we have to address tonight. Any questions we can answer for everybody regarding the event? And we haven't had a chance to talk.
Council questions?
Did you say the bridge was gonna be closed all day?
We're gonna go across the bridge when we leave town, and then
Oh, okay.
from noon to midnight.
Okay.
PC Pyrotechnics will move on to the bridge at noon to begin setting up fireworks. So we'll need to have it shut down for the day.
Yeah, I think it was the same hours as last year. Yes. Noon to midnight.
Well, you certainly do a good job. So hopefully it won't be the 11th hour before we find out if we can shoot a fireworks this year. Last year, it's like, can we even shoot them?
We got it.
We're in the middle of a lake. We should be able
We have
to.
one edit in the packet, the date of the event, I have 2021. 2022.
Paragraph 3 down, I believe.
The other question we had, I don't remember how we did it with it, we only had 2 food trucks, I don't know if the city needs permitting for that? For food vendors? Doesn't? Okay.
You're doing all your own outhouses and everything, whatever? No? Okay. Ours have been good enough with that. Yeah.
Well, they never got used, very minimal.
Yeah, we got a little slow opener this year with everything. So. Okay, well, you're on the agenda for later tonight. Anything else, council? In case you want to bug out?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, you guys, before you leave, since you're on TV here, why don't you talk a little bit about fishing with vets and what you guys do a little bit? I think that's fair.
Well, this is our biggest fundraiser of the year, for sure. We have one other fundraiser, softball tournament, following weekend after this, but nowhere near the thing, near the size of this. I don't know what the number is this year for vets that we've gotten out, but Mudfest is pretty much sponsored.
150 veterans have been out to date, with
Since-
another 100 veterans scheduled for the rest of the calendar year.
Since January. So, and that's all over, that's South Dakota, that's North Dakota, that's Wisconsin, I think Green Bay, and then a ton of Minnesota, north to south. So Mudfest is pretty much sponsored every single one of them events, no cost to any of the veterans whatsoever. You know, they just have to show up, be there, and need a license, whatever. But yeah, we have probably at least 2 events per month, all year long, every month. So we got some big ones coming up, but yeah, we appreciate everything the city's done for us, and everybody that lives here. You know, it's been huge. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm sure this year's gonna beat last year again and again. So we appreciate anything, but if anybody has any questions, Mayor Champa knows how to get a hold of me, but Fishing with Vets really appreciates this. Me and Bob are both on the board for Fishing with Vets. So we love what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last public participant tonight. We have resident Heather Barbie wants to address the council. Good evening, Heather.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've lived in Chisholm about 20 years. A lot of that time has been spent in HRA housing. When I started to live in HRA housing, I thought it was a good option. And this year HUD inspected the HRA and they received a 38C asterisk, which is deplorable. I have records. I believe the council has viewed these or possibly received them in an email or possibly saw them on Facebook of the surrounding cities and past inspections that they've done. COVID was an issue with some of the inspections. I don't know if any of you want to look at any of these. These are readily accessible on the internet. It's just the record of other HRAs and the REAC inspections that they've received in past years. I didn't see one over or under, or under, I would say, the upper 60s. And these are all prior to COVID. And prior to COVID, Chisholm was receiving a score of, let me see, these papers are all sticking together. Chisholm had a score of 73, which is a small deregulation, and a little under par. Most of these places that are inspected by HUD are shooting for 90s and above. That's considered. In 2015, Chisholm scored 87, standard performer. Our HRA housing is considered substandard housing. This is a huge problem. I'm embarrassed to even say that I lived in substandard housing, and I'm embarrassed to say that that's what Chisholm's HRA is considered. I know that there's been a couple articles that were in the newspaper that I found largely misleading due to my communication with Mark Wunderlich, who runs HUD in Minneapolis, and was talked to by myself and Mary Tominski regarding having an inspection up here. The HRA was notified 28 days prior to their June 6th inspection. This is along with the REAC guidelines for COVID. I don't know if any of you guys want to look at this. And it says during the 28-day, 14-day, and 2-day calls, so they're checking up with you the entire 28 days to make sure that there isn't COVID in the building. I asked Mark if this was still the protocol. He directed me to the REAC website, and that was still their listed protocol. And I said, but Mark, can you tell me, was the HRA notified? And he said yes. I've been communicating with him since 2019. This has been an ongoing issue, but I understand that COVID was a major hit to a lot of these buildings, to evictions, to other things like that. I, however, have a copy of an inspection from March 31st, 2022. That would have been a couple months before the HUD inspection. The name is redacted because this person is in fear of retaliation from said HRA. It was said in the newspaper articles that when we take short notice inspections, that's a hit to us, and maybe we could have prepared better. I could come up with a couple suggestions. If you type in REAC inspection on Google, it says a list of how to pass it. Another thing was that the employees had not been with the HRA for very long, so they were inexperienced. If you cannot figure out how to train employees in 3 years, there's a problem and there needs to be a solution. There are people's lives that are in these people's hands, directing the whole meaning of their being, your home. That is the only place they have to go. I can't imagine how you get a 38 on a lot of the inspections of and this is not just Longyear Terrace, this is Mapleview, this is the apartments up by the HRA office. This is not Lincoln Terrace or Lincoln Center. This is not the old school. They are not HUD. They are not HUD regulated. They are HRA regulated. There's a difference. So there's been some speaking out against things that have been complained about. and saying that these buildings are great and fantastic, but they're coming from people that live at the Lincoln. The Lincoln is market rate apartments. So they don't get inspected in the same way. They were not inspected by HUD. I don't know the condition of that building. So the consequences of this is that you're labeled substandard. The C after the 38 means there's health and safety risks, and the asterisk is that it was related to smoke alarms. They're separate, but they're both health and safety issues. No smoke alarms and no CO2 detectors. You're telling me if you have 28 days notice to get your things together, and there were inspections done in that 28-day period that had no notices given to residents, just knocks, which is illegal and part of renters' rights handbook that anybody can get. It's also available online. I posted links to it. A lot of these people do not have the resources to come to these meetings, to come to the HRA meetings, to do the vocalizing that maybe I can. So they had, the after effect was that they had 24 hours to fix the health and safety concerns and the smoke and CO2 detectors. It was quoted in there that that was finished in 6 hours. I question why this wasn't done before the HUD inspection, but then I also walked through Longyear Terrace, and a lot of the things today, a lot of the things that they were tagged for are still issues. Not having window cranks, not having window screens, not having, there was no doorknob on a door that I know that we've talked about at that place. The turd that I posted on Facebook in December, still there, lives there. We have water stains running down the walls. We have stained ceiling tiles. I have photographs, stained ceiling tiles, stained light fixtures. It's not fixed. What are we doing here? I know there's been a question on who's liable and who's responsible. At a certain point, it doesn't become who's liable and who's responsible. It's doing the right thing. We are all humans, and we should all treat everyone else the same way that we would like to be treated, and also that we would like our children, our families to be treated. I wouldn't put a family member in there. I get anxiety even going in there. So nobody's responsible. So those people are considered substandard? That's sure what it sounds like. That we can't do anything for them, that we won't do anything for them, that they're still living in there. One of the city's responsibilities is to provide affordable, safe housing and regulate some of those things. The city of Hibbing started regulating their housing. There was a reason HUD gave you a 38. If the Lincoln's so great, then why are these other places so bad? Because they're low income? Because we don't need to treat low income people with the same respect? That's what I've heard from a lot of residents. I've also heard horror stories of illegal evictions, harassment, ridiculous conditions. The elevator there. You know that elevator. There is no change to it. That was a tag. Was it finished in 6 hours? Was it finished in 30 days? It's been 30 days since that inspection. HUD's hearing, yep, it's all good. It's not all good. It's not all good. Any of you could walk in that building right now without a key. I got in both the main building and the storage building with no keys. The storage during our rent escrow was super. You just re-roofed it. Why are you re-roofing buildings that are great? And why aren't we re-roofing the lobby of that place? And, I mean, when you go down there and look at, that's a whole nother. So, what I want to know is what's going to happen here. Are we just gonna continue to be like, not my problem, not my problem? It's not my problem either. I get nothing from this.
Heather, let me stop you for a second. I've addressed the inspection in the newspaper,
Yep.
okay? I've also written a full report to the council. If they haven't seen it yet, it's in your email, okay? They're welcome to share with anybody they want, okay? If the council wants to go a step further, they're welcome to, okay? I've been there since the beginning. You've been there since the beginning. It was a lot worse when we started, a lot worse, okay? And you're right about everything you said. We weren't in there for 2 years. Over 2 years, we couldn't be in the buildings, and we only got 2 full-time maintenance. I had 2 half-time and 1 full-time, okay? You can't get them sick. We can't go in there. We had to go in there and leave, okay? So we had 1 month. We have 156 units. I don't know how many we have in those, okay? We weren't in there in April. All right? So, councils, they got my report. They can check everything I've said. I encourage you to. Matter of fact, I reached out to Mark, and I shared with you an email to Mark, and he politely thanked me for the information, okay? All right? This is decades. These problems have gone on for decades. Decades. We're re-roofing the Lincoln, or the Longyear. That roof's been dead for 10 years. Gone. $250,000 to do it. You know why the HUD buildings lag behind the market rate? Is because HUD has to give us the money to do the repairs. And these buildings were so far behind when we took them over in the middle of 2019. It'll be a couple of years left. We still got a list this long of things that need to be done. So, like you said, you've said your piece. Council heard mine. They can go look at the buildings whenever they want. They can go sit down with the HRA. If they bring something forward they feel there needs to be changed, I welcome it.
We finished?
Yep.
I don't understand why you're saying that everything's fixed and it's not.
I didn't say everything was fixed. We have a lot to do. We're still working on it. You can't even get door handles right now. I asked Joey about Longyear. He said, yeah, I'm waiting on 3 door handles. I'm done down there.
The door handle was considered addressed and finished at the end of our rent escrow. Can you verify that, Brian?
Which door handle?
The front door handles on here.
I believe that was corrected. The main item that was ordered to be done was to rekey or recode the entry system
To make the door secure.
because the tenants were giving that code out.
It was also the door.
So Heather, I'm gonna give you a little bit of where I'm at right now with this whole situation. I'm not on the HRA board, and I've never been on the HRA board, and I've never been to an HRA meeting, and I'm not afraid to admit that. We have been given updates throughout the years that I've been on the council from Mayor Ciampa for the HRA. Obviously, in 2019 when the roof caved through and water was everywhere, it was a big deal. But I also haven't been on a walkthrough yet down there because, you and I have also chatted and we're gonna do a walkthrough, and I'm fully plan on doing that. And as I stated, it's hard for me because I'm not on the HRA board, and although it's under the city, since I've sat in this chair, we've had nothing to do with the HRA up here. So it's as new to me as it is to anyone else up here. But I don't want to overstep until I get facts from my own eyes. When I talk to people who live there, if they're willing to talk to me, that to me is worth bringing forward to an HRA meeting. So I do plan on going to an HRA meeting, asking a couple of my own questions that I've come up with for the board and Jerry. Nothing, I'm not there to stir the pot. I'm just asking for some questions so that I can formulate my opinion, and then if I feel like we need to, have a further step, then that'll be my recommendation at that point. The other thing that this was very hard for me to accept when I first sat in this chair is change in anything government related is so slow. It bothers me to my core how slow it is. Stephanie can verify that. So I know I'm assuming when I go to this meeting that I'll be able to see their checklist of stuff they've done and not done, so that I can verify for my own perspective. But I do know that it took my parents who ordered 2 basement windows 8 months to get them. So yeah, it should never have gotten to that point. That score is embarrassing for me sitting here. I'm not afraid to admit that. But at the same time, I'm someone who's looking forward. And so my hope would be that they have fixed a bunch of stuff. The roof, from what I've been told, the roof is being repaired, or it is repaired. I hope that to be true. And then I want to see action going forward. I mean, I'll be more invested in it, I guess, going forward because of how low the score was. So and you know what? Maybe it's my bad that I haven't been down there in my 4 years here. But at the same time, I'm not on that committee and I'm not going to overstep. So that being said, we are going to do a walkthrough. I am looking forward to that. If there is anyone on the HRA or any residents or whatnot who wants to chat with me, please reach out. Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Okay. Cool. Anybody else?
Adam, I know you've walked through there.
Yep.
I have.
Um,
I could imagine that there's no cranks on the windows in the wintertime because people open the windows and shut the heat off. I don't know why there's more issues down at Longyear that in other places, but I am in there quite often, and it is very disgusting. You can walk through there and people put their bags of garbage in the hallway for somebody else to come pick up.
Absolutely.
No, that's a resident issue. That's not a maintenance issue. That's somebody who takes their filth and sets it outside the door for every other tenant to have to live with. You say there's a dog turd on the floor and it's still there. Probably comes from the same dog and it might be there repeatedly. Again, that's a tenant issue. It should be cleaned. I'm not sure how often they can have a cleaner going there picking up after everybody every time they go through their walk of life.
Well,
People do have to have some accountability. People do have to put forth a little bit of ownership. They might live in a subsidized housing, but that doesn't mean they have to treat it like a subsidized housing. They're not less than anybody else, but it goes a long ways when somebody can just, this is mine. I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to take care of it. And if more people do it and stand up, and maybe when you see somebody, his dog crapping on the floor, stop them. Say, hey, stop
Right.
that. Please
Don't
pick
let
up
them
after that.
anymore.
I know, not you, but in general. So it is, there are things that need to be addressed. Stands on the ceiling, if they address the roof, the stains are going to be there until they get a chance to fix it or replace that tile.
was
That's
on
not,
the tag of the investigation that had to be fixed within 30 days. That's what I'm concerned about, is that none of those rules are.
and I also
followed.
reached out to Mark from HUD, and he did inform me that everything that needed to be taken care of in a timely manner was taken care of. I'm not sure how he got that information. I don't know if he had somebody else from REAC come through there and check it again to follow up on it. But when I talked to him, he said he was satisfied and he would see HUD or the HRA buildings in 2 years. I asked, what does that mean? It's 38 score. Are they going to shut down? Are they going to evict anybody? Do they have to get people out? Is there mold issues? People have to worry about their health? He said, no, absolutely not. He said, that's
All
not.
mold and
Oh.
issues in that investigation.
No, he
and
said that-
air quality.
There's levels to everything, but he said that there's nothing that is dire need. When I talked to Mark, and you gave me his information, and I reached out to him, that was the information he sent back to me. I also believe that there's 3 sides to every story. So everyone who has a complaint, it's just a complaint until you hear the other side of what happened.
You know, there's a lot of social media presence on these, a lot of people complaining that, you know, the HRA evicted somebody illegally. They forced somebody out of their room. They towed a vehicle for no reason at all. I don't necessarily just believe those without hearing the other side of the story. So I do I do believe things need to change, you know, for the better. I think they are changing for the better. I think they are working. Like the mayor had said, this has been going on for decades. Okay? And now you're set into an area that has very little funding. And I believe they're setting up for a good job here. But we can only keep moving forward, keep focusing on the past. But you know, I really think that things are going in the right direction. It's a terrible score after COVID, so hopefully we can learn from this and make it better going forward.
Yeah, I encourage you to look at the whole inspection again. I encourage you to have your own questions.
Got it right here, and I talked through it with Mark.
I'm not trying to.
I'm just saying, I looked through the inspection.
I'm talking in general, I'm not talking to you personally, sorry.
Oh.
Is there anybody else that has possibly seen these buildings that could tell me any different? I have pictures on my phone of today, of poop in the hallway, of stained water tiles, but I guess we're okay with letting our
Okay.
people live like that.
I've also walked through buildings recently. I don't know what the building looked like a month ago or 3 years ago or 10 years ago. I do know that today there were definitely some areas that need improvement, and there are some areas that I feel like could be a relatively quick fix, and I do intend to talk to some members of the HRA and give them my thoughts on some things that we could do in a relatively short amount of time to increase the quality of living in that building.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Marty?
I mean, just to clarify the relationships, the HRA is an independent entity. It's not the city council's or the city of Chisholm's entity. We appoint people to that board.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the extent of our.
I think that would be wrong, but we appoint them, and the council does appoint the HRA staff. They run the HRA on their own at that point. But if there was some big problem, I think the HRA could pull it. I mean, the city could pull it back. If you really felt that it was really bad, you could ask to step in, couldn't you, Brian?
Yeah. So the answer to the question is a little bit of everything is right. The HRA is an independent entity that was created and essentially, I always say, spun off. But you think of it as a subsidiary of the city. Okay. So it was created by the city to exercise independent control over and discharge a function that's the function of the city ultimately. Okay. And essentially the control that the city maintains over it is the ability to affect the members of the board, who are the ultimate authority that oversee the operations.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just one more thing. You know, obviously, if things got so bad over years, you know, I would just say that a good place that the HRA should start is updating their policy and procedures. You know, and if there's any way to hold somebody accountable, you know, if somebody's not following policy or procedure, that's how every other department, you know, keeps everybody on track and your director's in line. So.
It was in a report I gave to the council, and I will leave a copy of it at City Hall. I think I have one in my truck if anybody wants to read it. But as part of that, I did tell Mark Wunderlich that I would actually like to see them come back for another HUD inspection this year yet. So I've only talked to him a couple of times, but apparently he's a man of a few words, because I think he said, "Thank you, I'm glad things are going well," after I wrote a book to him. So,
Mr. Mayor, I just need some more clarification from Attorney Lindsay. So what I just got out of what you just said was HRA is an independent entity created by the city, right?
Correct.
And the board members are the ones who make the decisions.
Correct.
So what can the city council do? That's the question that was wondering. What can we do?
The most direct effect that the city council could have would be to replace the members of the board. If they feel the board's not discharging the function appropriately, the city council ultimately has the ability to appoint the members of that board. But once appointed, the board as a body exercises the authority to control and oversee the functions of the HRA in its actions.
So it's a governing board,
Correct.
essentially. Okay, thank you.
So then is there a Brian, is there a check and balance on the executive director?
The board.
Just the board. So we would, I mean, really, we have no power.
That's right.
Right?
It's their ballgame. It really is.
So, yeah, I mean, even if I go down there and I wanted to force an action, I can't do that because they're their own governing board. That's what I'm hearing.
That's right.
Well, let me chime in before he answers. Okay, when I got there, I had a director that was way over his head. The employees were telling him how he was going to do his job. Okay, I walked through all these buildings right away. If you think Longyear's bad now, there were couches and everything all over in here. There were, I mean, oh my God.
Right.
Okay, and I had a board at the time. I was trying to do some things. I had one board member, the chairman, that he actually brought some of this up to me. He said, we got to do something, okay? That was one of the things. We looked at Sunny Slopes. There were apartments, I wrote some of this to you. There were apartments that had been empty for months, still had the people's food on the stove. And had I not been able to convince a few of these people to back out the door so that we could start making some positive changes, I would have had to bring it to here. I don't know what I would have done, but we would have been having this discussion because when I said, well, if we don't have time to clean these apartments, we got to hire somebody. I barely got that passed at the beginning. We hired a cleaning company. They were like, I don't know how, and I just found out within the last week that Clint, that was the director, and I said he was over his head, that this ain't from him. It dates way before him. I didn't realize Clint had been there such a short time. So, I mean, you know, so terrible score. 32 is a terrible score, but like I said, we weren't in the apartments. We weren't in the apartments. Not only that, after we finally started getting people placed, we had to get rid of a maintenance man, we had to get rid of a cleaning person, we had somebody who was supposed to shovel. None of it was getting done. And we had major repairs. The places were, you walk in them, if you could have seen them then compared to now, you'd go, okay, this is better. Okay, yeah, they're not perfect yet. But like you said, some of it has to do with residents, okay? So we'll keep working on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep working on it, and if the council feels there's a need to take it further, but certainly, go sit with the HRA. A lot of you have not, you've been hearing about the HRA for a while, and a lot of you haven't. So, all right?
Mayor,
Yeah.
when is the next HRA meeting?
It is next Thursday, right?
Third Thursday of every
Next
month
Thursday.
at 4 o'clock.
I was gonna say, I hope it ain't tomorrow. At 4 o'clock, right?
4 o'clock.
Where is it located?
At the HRA office building, which is, where the old Dairy Queen is, but a couple of blocks to the east of there.
Okay.
21st at 4.
What is it?
The 21st at 4.
All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Thank you. Council reports. Let's start with Adam tonight.
It's been a long time since seen you folks, but obviously we've all still been very busy. I don't have dates put down on here, but over the last month I did attend the Airport Authority 25-year plan meeting. That was very informative of what they want to put forward, and that's basically their comprehensive plan. One thing I'll say to anybody who uses airports around here, use the Hibbing Airport if you can. It's the number of people in the seats going out that helps the FAA actually contribute money and funds to update that. So Expanding the runway was one of their things. They want to expand for other type of developments and businesses, and sooner than later, they will have a private charter service available out of the Hibbing service for anybody to rent. We had our fire department meeting first Wednesday of the month, and no shock to anyone, our trucks are old and they are falling apart. We're nursing our aerial back to health. It's been out twice. We had pump testing come through, and I believe 2 of our trucks failed and had to get worked on and brought up to date. Aerial actually has parts that are pretty much made to order. So we are still nursing things along, but our engine 1 was due to be replaced 10 years ago. Our aerial is close to 30 some years old, and it's a beautiful truck and it's still making the rounds, but it's not going to last forever. Kiwanis, new member of that group down there, so I'm getting a lot of new information. They are almost there with the funding for the splash pad. They just got another $10,000 from the Owens Foundation, and they're coming to the L class. They do have a link up for donating. Anybody at home wants to click on, go on the website, check it out. There's a link so you can go and donate. The Wall That Heals came through town June 21st, I believe. I was fortunate enough to go up and welcome them into town and watch as it approached with about 150 or 200 motorcycle riders. A lot of different clubs from the area and veterans that escorted them through the communities. That was very, very breathtaking to see, and it was a great thing to see late at night also. The lights, it was just beautiful. So I hope everybody got the opportunity to go down there and check it out. A couple weeks ago, one of the VEMA headquarters on Main Street there hosted a meet and greet with the sheriffs that are running. So that was a very nice thing for them to do inside the community and let everybody come around and meet some different candidates and get to know them. We had an EDA meeting here recently. Again, we're continuing to supply grants to local businesses and welcoming a new owner to 2 new Main Street buildings downtown. I believe through different grants and projects, updates and renovations, I'd say over $150,000 in the past month and a half is spent on Main Street, are going to be spent. And at the planning zoning meeting, we were discussing auxiliary structures adjacent to properties, ways to utilize our smaller lots with single-family dwellings, possibly with attached garages underneath. And hopefully at our next council meeting, we'll be bringing up some other type of property maintenance codes, that we could look at to go with our building maintenance codes. So a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff.
Thank you.
Council, any comments on what Adam?
Any questions?
I don't think I can give a report now.
No, right.
I was crossing them off as I went. Cheyenne report tonight. I'm going last. I'm going to have them all crossed off by then, so this is perfect.
Good evening.
How do you follow that?
Right. No report.
Speechless.
Thank you. Travis, report tonight.
All right, I do have a couple things that he didn't mention. All right, first is obviously the all classes coming up. The Community Foundation is hosting an all class reunion breakfast at Jim's. It is on Friday, August 5th from 9 to noon. Cost is $15 a person. Eggs, hash brown, sausage, pancakes, fresh fruit, coffee, Bloody Mary, my mimosa bar, dine-in, takeout. So that will be happening as a fundraiser for the CCF. Also, the CCF has a golf scramble coming up on July 25th. So if you are a golfer and you want to participate in that, it's held at the Mesaba Country Club in Hibbing. That's July 25th. And lastly, the citywide garage sales will be on the 29th and 30th of this month. And so I took on the ownership, like I have so much time in my day, to organize that, and participation is phenomenal so far. So I'm really excited. I think I have about 16 garage sales right now. So
How can we get on that? How can we get on
you
your
can
list?
send me a text because I'm new school and I don't like to be called on my phone. So text me.
What's your number?
My number is on the flyer. Yes, I'll publicize it for you all. 218-966-0137. Call me, text me, anytime you want. I'll respond if it's a text. If it's a voicemail, I can't make a promise.
Beautiful.
That's
That's all I
it.
got.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. April report tonight?
Adam and this one took everything. Except for the one beautiful thing that we had yesterday, which was our library board meeting. We made, I think I'm speechless, I'm sorry. We had a great meeting.
We did.
You know, we got 3 new board members and we went over bylaws and some, I'm not gonna, tell everybody what we talked about all the things that you're gonna talk about. But they had a great summer reading program, and I'm sporting the shirt, read beyond the beaten path, so I support libraries 100,000%. And Katie, she's doing a wonderful job, and I'm very proud of you. Thank you, that is all.
Thank you, April. Marty, report tonight?
Good evening. The only thing I have to report on is there's been a lot of work going on at Redhead. I've been working a lot with the volunteers and with our trail contractor, which is Rock Solid, and they've added one new green trail. It's kind of right along the entrance road, Fairgrounds entrance road, and the pine trees that are by Big Chicken. So if anybody wants to go, the Big Chicken, the entrance.
No, it's a good way
So there's a new trail there, and it's been designed mostly for kids and beginners, and you should go check that out. And they're doing a lot of work down in the pit on some trails as well. The volunteers have been doing a lot of work, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Few things. Public safety building, they had the 90% meeting yesterday. I could only attend in the morning. I had to go to work. Interesting, maybe Stephanie can say more about it, but it really went through the intricate details of the building and, right down to how the sprinkler system was going to be run and things like that, where all the piping. So really, quite thorough. Sanitary Sewer District had a meeting today. Kenny has a new representative. What did we do there? I brought all the city staff came today. They did a presentation for Stephanie, Larry, Jed Hollow was there until his ambulance pager went off. Denise with the PUC was there. Eileen was there. They did a little presentation to kind of get the staff to kind of understand how that whole thing works and how their budgets work and everything. So that was nice. Citywide cleanup, nobody said anything about that yet?
Nope.
So that's going for 2 more days, tomorrow and Friday. Basically, if you got stuff that needs to be thrown away, household stuff, and bring it down. Load your truck up, haul it down there. I've seen April there. I was down there today getting rid of a few things, and we'll put her in the truck and haul her away. There's a few things that cost you money, like mattresses and stuff, but I think there's sheets up here if you want to know what. But we got 2 more days, so don't miss out on it. It's a good time to clean up. We talked about the all-class fair, August 3rd to the 7th. That's coming up, St. Louis County Fair. I got this down. Filing closed. A few of our council is refiling. We have some new people. I wish everybody the best of luck. It's nice to see people step up. Okay, these aren't the greatest jobs, that's for sure. I want to just say one more thing. Kind of, COVID is loosening up, and we had a lot of businesses in this town that really stepped up to try to figure out how to. I think about. I'll leave Casey's to the end because I want to talk about them a little bit. But think about things like our grocery store. Okay, they had a very difficult job of keeping that place open and staffed with COVID and people getting sick and everything. And our own city crew trying to avoid people and be alone in pickups and police not getting too into cars and stuff to do it. But with that said, Casey drug up and above. They used our facility across the street, did testing, vaccinations. A lot of our city staff probably were vaccinated over there. A lot of our elderly, so very commendable what they did. So I think they even hired additional staff to make sure they were prepared. So can't say enough about it. So, that's all I got. We'll move on to the department heads. Jess, good evening.
Captain's there. Frankly, I'm a little disappointed no one covered my content for me. What's up with that? Actually, I don't have anything major to report because I have a huge bulk of the agenda items under new business. Sounds like I'll be getting my donated radios from Hennepin County here tonight. Yay! But other than that, nothing else to report unless you have some questions.
Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder of our first training that we actually were able to host.
So I was so hyper focused on everything else that I did forget. Yes, we did have our first monthly training. Was it last week?
Yeah.
It all runs together.
It does. It really does. And it was a great turnout, and it actually was scheduled to be an hour, and it ended up running 2.5 hours because it was such good content and a lot of great questions and a lot of hands-on stuff, a lot of stuff to catch up on. So that was awesome as well. What else am I forgetting?
That's enough. Thank you, Jeff.
Good one.
The air conditioning.
No fire chief tonight. Police chief.
I have no formal report.
Anything for the chief? We're still looking for police officers.
Still looking.
All right. Building official, Mandy, report tonight?
No report other than what's on the agenda.
Anything from Mandy? Engineer report tonight?
No report other than what I have on the agenda unless you have questions for me. Thank you.
Anything? Public Works, Larry, report tonight?
No report, Mayor, I'll keep it going.
Bridget, report tonight? Parks and Rec and Trails?
I thought I had to have a report. But if this is a stretch, good evening, Mayor and councilors. Marty didn't mention Bike Town film, and so that's a documentary at MDC, and it's Friday the 22nd. If you can make it, I know only so many councilors can be there together, so you all have to work that out between yourselves. Marty will be there, introducing and welcoming everybody to the city. I do want to read the little description on the Bike Town. I don't know what you call it, but I like it because it puts Chisholm right next to all these other communities. It says Bike Town takes a deep dive into recreational trail development in Chisholm, Minnesota, Bellingham, Washington, Snowshoe, West Virginia, and Pacific City, Oregon, to explore themes at the heart of the current mountain bike movement. So it is really exciting to be up there with, I know Bellingham, Washington is a very neat town to live in. IMBA visited IROC, or Redhead, and that's an IROC fundraiser. So if you go, the funds that you put in there will go towards IROC. IMBA is International Mountain Biking Association, and so that's folks from all over the United States, but they bike worldwide as well. And rumor has it, a lot of them were saying that Redhead is better than any mountain bike trail in the United States that they've ridden. So that's big accolades. We're preparing for fall events at Redhead, and then just to let you know, a bench fundraiser is coming, so there'll be another bench on the Lake Walk, and that funds will be raised during the all-class reunion. Delta Airlines did adopt the Ironman Park, so they'll be in control of keeping that clean and nice for the next couple of years. The new floating dock is going in on Longyear, and the DNR crew are still working on it, maybe for another day or two. The summer rec program going well, minus when the floor sweats, the curling club floor sweats. So I am putting together a plan B, so we'll never have to cancel in the future ever again. So don't expect a cancellation of the program. I have plan Bs coming soon. And then finally, this weekend on Sunday, there's a volleyball fundraiser for Hibbing. And that's the Volleyball Booster Club, and they're using our courts for that. Any questions?
Council?
They're using our garbage.
Be nice. You've gotten up to speed real quick. Library supervisor, welcome back. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back.
Good evening. It's good to see everyone. We've got a lot going on at the library right now. Today we did tie-dye. We had 145 kids and 57 adults attend.
Wow.
We went through
Wow.
a lot of dye in 4 hours. Summer reading program, we are in our 6th and final week of our reading program. We had 194 kids sign up for that and 31 teams. We're continuing story times at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. We're kind of averaging between 50 and 80 kids every Wednesday for story time. So we're rocking and rolling. So we're at full throttle after COVID. And I do want to just quickly express my thank you to library aides, Debbie and Michelle, because all the numbers I just talked about and all the programming would not have been possible without them. I just have 2 great employees. And they just stepped up in the biggest way while I was absent. And also Administrator Scrava filled in all the gaps. And I'm just very thankful for the team that I had in place while I was absent. The tuck point process is happening at the library. You've probably noticed. Innovative Masonry has been absolutely amazing to work with. All the guys are super great. They're ahead of the schedule. Looks like they're looking at completing the project in August. I can't believe how fast this project's moving. So that's been going really well. Huge thanks to Mandy and Jim for helping with that project and getting us on the home stretch. That's been a couple years in the making. So I think that's it.
Can you explain to the folks at home?
Yeah.
And maybe up here, I didn't know exactly about the mortar and stuff. Could you explain that? Because
Yeah.
I had questions, people were asking me.
Sure. So the library was actually built in 1914, so it's a little bit old. And there's mortar in between the bricks that is essentially like when you wipe your hand across it, like it was just sand. And so a lot of the bricks were becoming loose and falling out. And so the process that they are moving through right now is grinding down all the mortar in between every single brick in that whole building and replacing that mortar. So that's kind of what that tuck pointing is. And then they're also going to be working on the soffits. It's a wood and it's white painted, and so there's a lot of chipping. And so that's going to be sanded down and repainted as part of that project as well. So, and there's a couple other little bits and pieces to it, but that's the gist of that project.
You have to really like the finished product to do that job.
Yeah.
They sit there for hours
Yes.
and grind them lines.
Yeah.
They're just there all day, every day. I
Yeah.
can't even imagine.
And they're doing amazing job.
Yeah.
And they have a smile on their face every day.
Yeah.
So it's been
They like what they
good.
do.
Yeah.
Anything else, Council? Anything for Katie? All right. Thank you. Attorney, report tonight?
No formal report, Mayor, but I am happy to field any questions the council may have.
Council, anything for the attorney?
I don't have a question, Brian, but I am very happy to see that trailer house gone.
It was all Larry.
So, whoever it might have been, good job.
It ain't gone.
Well, it's not in the same spot.
Yeah, it's just moved. We're trying
Well,
to figure
that's
out when
fine.
they're taking it or how it's going, but he's working. He ain't gonna let it sit there very long, I can tell you that. Thank you. Clerk Treasurer Eileen, you report tonight? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, everyone from the community. A couple things to share in regards to the election. Election judges as well as city staff have been attending training put on by the county, St. Louis County. We've attended election judge training, absentee voting, and this year healthcare facility voting. We're going to be doing that this year at the request of Heritage Manor. So that'll be, we'll be conducting absentee voting at that location. We just submitted for publication the notice of primary election and the sample ballot to be published in next week's paper. On Tuesday, July 19th is the last day to pre-register to vote. Bless you. The absentee board is meeting absentee voting began on June 24th. It will commence through August 8th, and the absentee board is meeting every 5 days to review and accept those ballots. It'll change on Monday, July 25th. The absentee ballot board is required to meet every 3 days to process those ballots. And then on Monday, also on Monday, the 25th of July, we'll be posting the election information and sample ballot in City Hall. So, just some cool milestones for elections. Yay! Budgeting. So I've been in touch with every department head about trying to follow the budgeting schedule that we have in place. The city has a structured schedule to follow. And we attempted to do that. Our first milestone was July 5th to have a preliminary budget put in place for the city administrator to review. But of course, we're using a new software this year called ClearGov, and we've experienced some challenges, which is good, right? We're getting this done early so we can iron out those challenges and move forward. So we attempted to meet that first milestone of July 5th, but we didn't, which is fine. We're still ahead of the game and working together to make it happen, and communicating with each other and addressing any issues with the new software. So, in regard to the audit, the auditors, Bonnie and Jeff Stroll, have been on site doing their field work. This is the beginning of their third week. We anticipate them finishing by the end of this week. And then they'll provide us with any last questions before they put together the financials. Stephanie and I met today with Bonnie to talk about cash, and we learned quite a bit about our position as a city and how they're represented in the financials according to the fund, general, permanent improvement, enterprise. So it was very enlightening, and it was good to meet with Bonnie. We learned something new every day in regard to government and government accounting, especially for me. Just to give you some feedback, the council approved City Hall summer hours, I believe, at last meeting, and it's been going great for at least the employees that I oversee. I don't know how, it doesn't affect your employees, right, Larry? Just City Hall employees, and they work until 12 noon on Fridays and make up those hours the rest of the week, and it's been going great. I mean, it's really downtime because we close City Hall at noon on Fridays, so we can get a lot of work done on Fridays, right? Because it's quiet and there's no traffic. And the City Hall staff seem to enjoy it very much, right? Because you can have some summertime at home with your family, so it's going well. And I just wanted to let council know that from my perspective and what I've experienced in my role, you know, when I first came aboard here, things were a lot different, right? And we progressed, in my view, because we have a lot of women in some important roles, right? Some leadership roles. And it's really affected the environment. And I just wanted to tell council that I feel my whole attitude has changed about coming to work here. I really enjoy it because it's changing, and it's nice to be part of that change. And part of that change is with Bridget and Susan's onboarding. Not to say anything about, you know, Margaret and Tammy. Those are wonderful ladies who have years of experience, and they're greatly missed. But it's just nice to see how we're progressing. And I really attribute all of that to Stephanie's leadership. So I just wanted to say that. And I can't wait for the future and what we're going to accomplish together as a team. So I just want you to know. Thank you.
Eileen, before you walk away, you said a lot about the elections and
Yes.
training. Did you mention it's August 9th, right? We do have a primary, even though we don't need one in the city, because I think we only have 4 candidates.
4 candidates.
4 for council and 2 for mayor, so I don't think we have to have a primary.
We do.
There are 5.
Oh, there is 5. Okay, so we will have a primary for council.
Right, I apologize.
And then, and that's on August 9th primary.
That is correct.
And that's at the arena, we still do it at the
That
arena,
is
so,
correct.
okay. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, report tonight, good evening.
Good evening. I have a couple things, like the mayor had mentioned, we had our all-day public safety 90% meeting yesterday. Robert from Wendell Five Bugles will be at our next council meeting to discuss the building and bidding timeframe with the council. We also had the purchase of the Iron Range Bell Engineering building, as you all know, but the bids did come back and construction has started on that facility. So you'll start to see some movement going on over at that building, which is the former Hillcrest property. The timeline for that is that we'll have students in that building by the end of August. So that is looking good. Bob Streeter is going to be here on Friday with the landscape architect for the housing development. I will be going to do the walkthrough of the property on Friday with him. He will also be here at the August 10th meeting to go over where we're at with the housing development and what studies we have received back and what the next steps are for that. I also do want to touch on, as you can see, we've been very, very busy this summer, and the staff is awesome, and we could not get all of these things accomplished if we didn't have the people that we have. So thank you all for that. It's makes my job a lot easier, and things are definitely moving in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you, Steph. Council, anything on that? All right, we'll move on. Consent agenda, these are the list of bills. Adam, did you get a chance to hit them on the way in there? Good. Communications, those are the May 4th, 2022 Police Commission minutes, May 19th, 2022 HRA meeting minutes, 2021 financial statements from Chisholm Hibbing Airport Audit Report, Public Utilities Commission minutes, Library Report, Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Communication, minutes of the previous City Council meeting, the June 6, 2022 working session, June 8th, 2022 public hearing amending role in bond funding for Chisholm Health Center, June 8th, 2022 regular meeting, payroll and overtime.
May I have one correction? On the June 6th working session on page 18, you were counted as absent. That needs to be changed.
Okay, so looking for a motion to accept the consent agenda with, unless there's other corrections, Administrator Scraba mentioned that I was absent at the working session on June 6th, and I was really there? Okay. So if there's nothing else, we'll look for a motion to accept the consent agenda with their one correction.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second.
Second.
Thank you, April. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Just a few items on the agenda tonight. We should be able to whip right through these. Start out with Jess. Come on up. Severe weather notification. We heard a overview of how that system can help us, but I'll let Jess just run with it.
All right. My own places. So I am asking for council's approval of the wrong one. Asking for council's approval to resubscribe to Everbridge notifications to the account of St. Louis County, and there is some information attached behind this memo. It is also my recommendation that the city decommission the old tornado siren. We've had multiple issues with it. It has not been appropriately tested. Tornado sirens are not a requirement at all, and it is up to city policy and procedure, on how those are run and managed. And in order to get ours replaced and functioning appropriately, Hibbing is looking at the same thing, and they are being quoted $25,000 to $30,000 per siren. And it's important to note that sirens are for outside notification only. It's not intended to notify people of emergencies that are inside their homes. So I think Everbridge is a wonderful opportunity to reach a larger band of people within Chisholm. We can use it for a variety of different reasons as well.
So you're looking for a motion to approve?
To resubscribe to Everbridge and to decommission the siren. Or to at least not.
Okay. Let me just comment. You know, one thing with that tornado siren, the hard part, who turns it on? And how do we know we should turn it on? You know, that's why the question I asked for Dewey was, so what, you know, how do you know more than we do? And it's because they have a bigger connections coming in for weather, you know, and that's, so.
I should say that the dispatch center does activate tornado sirens for the city of Duluth, Gilbert, and Flowood. Currently, those are the only ones, but they gotta be narrow banded, they gotta be updated. Who's gonna hear them, 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yep.
Those kinds of things, so they are a maintenance issue. But yeah, dispatch can do this siren.
So it may be an additional thing to what we're doing now in the future, if you wanted a siren on top of the notification, so.
Vern, we're not narrow band, are we? No, yeah.
Way, way updated.
Yeah, it requires a whole lot of overhaul.
All right, Council Jess is looking for a motion to resubscribe to Everbridge to try to fill that gap. A lot of concerns about it on Facebook, if you follow Facebook, about I don't know if they confirm these were tornadoes or not in some of our surrounding communities, but I know a lot of people are concerned, wow, would have been nice to have a siren, so it's worth a try. It's
So what did we switch to? We were Everbridge and we switched?
No, nobody wanted to use it, so we just got rid of it.
And this is a new function that we weren't using
Yeah,
before.
nobody has to sign up for this one, you just,
That was prior to the iPods integration and the life safety databases.
Okay. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
thank you, Adam. Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Just for the record, what's the amount? It was $16.68 or something?
$1,592.50 for 2022, and that rate would be retro from the date that we sign on. Their billing cycle is April 1st.
Okay. Further discussion, Council?
Mr. Mayor, can we not go with the decommissioning of the old tornado siren until we figure out what we're gonna do? Because I really think a lot of the older folks in town, that they would rely on that more so than technology. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm not against what you're saying. I think the reason for the decommissioning is because the one that's up there is beyond repair. So we'd be decommissioning it. If we wanted to do something with the tornado siren, we got to revisit it as a brand new item. So I don't know that decommissioning prevents us from doing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know that we actually even have an official policy or procedure on it, which we would have to come up with before using it in an official capacity.
Or look for it, like, maybe the lawyer can look for it like he looked for all those other papers. I don't know. I'm sure there's something in there. But
I mean, like
we
you
should
said-
revisit it. You know, I mean, if Hibbing's looking at one for 30 grand, that's important to have.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. We got a budget coming up like next month. We can start talking about it. So the motion is to decommission the current one because we need to upgrade it anyway. So but we're certainly not preventing us to have that discussion. So we do have a motion and support. Any further discussion, Council? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Hiring committee recommendation, Jess?
The hiring committee interviewed and would like to make a recommendation for council to approve the hiring of Cassidy Cansula for EMT.
Council looking for a motion to hire a new EMT.
I'll make that motion.
Second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Marty. Give April. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Virginia Chisholm ALS Intercept Payment Agreement, Jess?
This is just to establish a rate. We traditionally use Hibbing Fire for most of our ALS paramedic intercepts. However, on occasion, Hibbing is plumb out of resources, so we have to rely upon Virginia, and this just establishes a rate.
Pretty straightforward. Look for a motion, Council, to set that up.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. HIPAA compliance manual. This was sent to all of you electronically. Here it is. I think we're going to keep one on record in City Hall here, if anybody wants to see it. But you're looking for to accept the HIPAA manual, basically the HIPAA policy
Yes.
would be it.
And this was reviewed by the city attorney as well.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Second.
April, thank you. Further discussion?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Brian?
I typically don't comment on these. I want to give Ms. Davis a compliment. This was a very, very well put together manual, and as somebody who drafts these sorts of things, the undertaking it took to put it together was something else. She did a great service to the city here.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last item under JAS Resolution 0722-66, accept donation for CPR mannequins.
Yes, Mr. Steve Burson, out of Hibbing, was an instructor at Lincoln Elementary and was retiring, and he did all their CPR instruction. Had a bunch of CPR mannequins that he was hoping to donate, otherwise he was going to be tossing them. So I happily relieved him of mannequins, 4 adult and 4 infant mannequins that will go a long way towards helping with EMS and community CPR training.
Council look for motion, accept a donation of the CPR mannequins and send him a letter thanking him for the donation.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jess. We'll go on to Vern. Gambling permit for Chisholm Kids Plus for Kiwanis Splash Pad.
We're moving right along, Mr. Mayor, so won't take any time, looking for the approval for that. If you want to splash pad, one of the final things to get the money ready for that to go.
Motion.
Support.
Second. It's a good day.
Hold on, you guys jumped ahead of me. So this is a raffle, right? It's another raffle, one of the big raffles, right?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that. So who made a motion, Adam?
No,
Sure.
I did.
Travis?
April
Seconded by April.
Yeah.
Further discussion?
I should say there are 300 total tickets that are $100 per ticket. 5 months ago, I said the wrong information, or whenever I brought it up. So that's what it is.
Is that because every other one's been 200 for the history of Chisholm?
500 tickets?
300. 300.
Is this one for the
Can you say it
tickets
one more time?
or for the ball drop?
Any other discussion?
This is for the raffle tickets. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion to support. No further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Requests for road closures for Saturday, August 6, 2022 for Doc Moonlight Graham Day's All-Class Reunion Parade Car Show.
And you can see from the attachment, Shannon has sent the DOT the proper request for the permits. Thankfully, she takes care of that. Everybody else seems to do it in different towns, but Shannon's always good at that and having it done in a timely manner. We need those, and we need the council approval to shut down Main Street as well, so that's what, right. I just stuff out there.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Marty. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Just a comment. I'm going to be leaving at the end of the year. Just a comment for this council. We hold events in this town and we shut the town down for them. And we always forget about that third block down there. And there wasn't a lot going on down there. We kind of need to get people across, and there's the gas station in there. But I think in the future, the council's going to have to look at how to try to include that block. It's getting, we're getting a lot more businesses down there that are part of the community. So that's all, just a comment. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Gambling permit for St. Joseph's Catholic Church raffle on October 15th, 2022.
Yes, it's their annual October raffle.
And way early.
They're always in.
Look for motion to allow the St. Joseph's Catholic Church raffle on October 15th.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Temporary liquor license for Serbian Orthodox Church. I think they're holding an event, Vern, is that what's
Whole
going on?
event, I'm just looking, I was looking at the date here, I was in here. But just 1 day liquor license for St. Joe's. This is the second one they've done this year.
Serbian.
Sorry.
St. Pedro.
Focus.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve that temporary liquor license pending all the things that Vern does to make sure it's okay for them to have it.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Marty. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Temporary liquor license and citywide festival for St. Louis County Fair. Before you start, Vern, Council, if you look through your packet kind of thoroughly, you'll see there's a separate item about this later. But this first item is basically to allow what they had been doing in the past, having a beer garden up there, okay? And then they have a special request to see if they can open it more up later. We'll have a talk about that. But this is to do what they've done in the past, right, Vern?
Yes, this is what they do every year. And just a quick explanation why the citywide festival. Actually, now I think about it, we already okayed a citywide festival for the all-class reunion for the same days. But normally, you can designate the area for a citywide festival, and what we do, they get a temporary license. A temporary liquor license is only good for 4 days. In order for them to get the fifth, the fifth day, they have to actually apply for a second liquor license for the fifth day. And in order for the city to grant a fifth day, which is a separate license, they have to declare a citywide festival. We declare it for just the area of the beer gardens at the fair. Those are the hoops they have to jump through from the state, and I'm just relaying what we have to do for them to get them there. So that's why this is, if you look at the packet, there's actually 2 liquor licenses, and that's why, one's for 4 days, one's for 1. So, and we do this every year.
So, Attorney Lindsay, Vern, so let's say, I think the recommendation later on is not necessarily going to be to open it up. It's going to be difficult, but we'll council discuss that. So if we just declare a citywide festival for the beer garden and it opens it up, do we have to revisit the citywide festival later in the meeting if we did do something different?
We'd have to address the area, but that could be amended by a secondary motion.
Okay. So in this item, council, the fair is basically looking for a temporary liquor license and declaring a citywide festival so they can have a beer garden up there similar to they have in past years. So that's what we'd be looking for a motion for.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So this came up at the last item, the blight long grass. There was a handout you had when we sat down. Chief Manor brought it up to us at the staff meeting. Wondered, with the all-class reunion coming up with county lots all over town that they're not really cutting the grass. Some other areas that are private ownership that we may be able to cut them and assess them on. He kind of wants to know, what do we do? Can we get can Larry go cut them for us? I don't know. I think that's what you're asking, right? What do we do? Can we clean some of them up? Should we clean some of them up? Maybe the attorney can chime in. The county lots, the truth of the matter about the county lots is when they finally sell the darn things, they do kick us money back every year when they get them back on the tax rolls and things like that. So, they don't pay taxes anyway, so we ain't getting any money on them anyway, right? Well, they're in the county's hands. So, but maybe about some private ones where we just can't get them to cut them. Attorney, you got any insight on that? If we could do them, could we?
There is a way, Mayor, and so if I remember the ordinance correctly, what we have to do is make sure that we give them sufficient, there's a notice period that we would have to give, and the notice would have to specifically say if they haven't addressed the issue by such and such a date, then the city will come on, cause the lawn to be mowed, or the grass to be mowed, and charge them back for the cost of that service.
And we have the PDR. We have a list of all the lawns and
homeowners and stuff, because we've been doing this with the blight and long grass, so we would be happy to send an additional, and all these have been served with the 7-day temporary, but we certainly can follow up with another letter saying the city will be doing that, and, because we already have the list going for Larry's crew already, so we can certainly take care of that part of it.
How's it?
I like it. Get her done. Charge them for it.
Can you charge the state?
We're not gonna get anything from the county lots, but if we can do some of the private ones correctly,
Talk to Vernon. Yeah, the state and county, there's some that are right in the main thoroughfares, and I know past councils have been, especially at all class time, what can we do to clean these up? That's why I brought it up in the beginning of this month, so we can get ahead of it for the all class, because Larry's will be busy enough that week, so try to get on.
so you're looking for a motion to do what we can do to get these cleaned up within the laws.
That works.
I had a quick question for the long grass and the blight issues. Is that citywide? I mean, businesses follow the same, like industrial park follows the same?
Blight, there are certain ordinances they do follow and certain they don't. The unlicensed vehicle is different for commercial versus blight. Blight, trash and the other typical blight stuff falls under everybody, like commercial, or a commercial with licensed vehicles different. They get 90 days because it might be a something they're rolling through, working on cars and stuff. So there's a different timing for a few things, and then some of the blight stuff is the same.
Like long grass down in the industrial park, you know, next
long
to
grass is one of those, are the same for sure.
Make a motion, Travis?
Yep. Motion.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Adam. Further discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Vern. Mandy? Is this the one that was replaced? There was one that was replaced somewhere. I don't remember what it was. Resolution 0722-67, lots 30, 31, and 32, block 10 transfer. I believe that's old saving property, right, Mandy?
It is, yes.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
So what you have before you is a resolution to transfer the property, the old saving lot property from the county to the city for economic development purposes. We had recently just did a same transfer exactly like this with the lot next to the bakery. So we're just looking for approval of that resolution to send that to the county.
Good question.
Yes, April?
So, with this resolution, do we have to pay the estimated market value for that?
Yes. Yep.
So, we probably should put that in our resolution, right? Because that wasn't in our packet. I mean, you had this, but you didn't write down the estimated market value. And that was like $9,200, correct? But it should have been in the resolution, or it should have been as an action item. Not just a transfer title, but it also the money spent. How much is it gonna cost?
Does that need to be in the resolution? Because this is the county resolution.
No, I don't.
That's Brian, that question.
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
The estimated market value is $9,200 for the lot.
So April, your question is, should the actual value show up in the resolution? Or,
Right, or are we gonna have to pay that much? Are we gonna just?
we are gonna have
Should it be
to,
zero?
No, we're buying it. Yeah, we gotta buy it.
and our intentions are to recover the full amount when we figure out who we're
Yeah.
gonna work with to sell it to.
I'll just sell it.
Yeah.
And there is, we do have funds in the economic development budget to purchase this property too.
Awesome. And then do we pay property tax on that too?
No.
Okay. I'll make that motion since we've got, money in the economic development for $9,200
Should we make motion to adopt resolution 072267, which is to purchase this lot for the price you said?
Correct.
Second for that?
Support.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Brian, do you have anything to add?
No, I've reviewed this, the resolution. The resolution as it sits here is sufficient. There may be some additional paperwork down the road that'll state the purchase price more specifically, but as it relates to this resolution, the authority that we're looking for is sufficient.
And with the motion made for the purchase price, which we'll include in the motion to adopt the resolution. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let me catch up. Okay, next we have Samantha Smart, request to purchase vacant ROW. Andy? She's here tonight as well.
She is here, yes. Ms. Smart and I have been communicating through phone and emails, and she is interested in purchasing the vacant right-of-way that is directly adjacent to her property to the south of her property. She owns, if you look at the County Explorer map in your packet, she owns 804 Center Drive, and there is a right-of-way that goes around all of the properties there, including the 2 properties north of 804 Center Drive. What she would like to do is get the property surveyed and just cut off those right-of-way lines to square off the 804 Center Drive, and then the right-of-way would remain to the west and the east of Center Drive. She has agreed to get the survey and pay for it. The estimated, she did contact the county, and the estimated market value of that lot is $6,600, and she is requesting to purchase that lot for $6,600 minus his surveying cost of the property. Once the purchase does go through, we will bring it to the planning commission and vacate that right of way if the purchase does go through. If Jim wanted to communicate, he has spoken with me regarding utilities located in the right of way.
Yeah, let's talk about them. I know Marty has questions, but let's, because that's like, you know, obviously to me, always the biggest concern is, number one, it's like a piece of the street that's missing currently. And number two, we may have to work on them utilities. I'm not going to pay anybody to work on them utilities. That I have to be able to have access, a utility easement forever. And I need to be, you know, I don't want to end up in a situation where I'm negotiating court to go through there because they got a nice yard. You know what I'm saying? So that's my biggest concern, because in reality, that could happen at any time with utilities.
She does understand she couldn't build over any utility easement.
So what's under, Jim, do we know what's under there?
Yes, when we did the Center Drive project back in 2013, and it shows up on the as-built plans that are in your packet, we did replace the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer that go across that right-of-way. It's the extension of 8th Street, actually from 8th Avenue over to Center Drive, over to 9th Avenue. There's no water main that goes through there. So the piping is all good. My recommendation to Mandy was we can certainly vacate that right away, but we need to maintain the utility easement across that whole right of way, rather than trying to do a separate corridor for the storm sewers that goes across and a separate one for the sanitary sewers. Better, easier, just whatever they're acquiring, just to maintain a permanent utility easement, which gives us the right of trespass, as I understand the request. They've been maintaining that property, want to continue to maintain that property, to continue to, keep their own home values up. So I have no issues with vacating that right away. I don't see that street ever going through as part of what we did back on that Center Drive project in 2013. But we do need to, if we do vacate that right away, we do need to retain a permanent utility easement across there, so we can get in and maintain it if something happens in the future.
Marty, I'll let you talk 1 second. I just want to
Do
ask.
you know if there's any private utilities through there for the telephone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Brian, let's say we did have to work on those utilities down the road. How restored to original condition as a city do we have to put that? Because she's going to try to make it part of her yard, make it beautiful, right? Swing sets there and everything, you know. And, you know, so you know what I'm saying? Okay, when we get done, it's dirt now. Okay, and she had really nice grass when we started. So I just you know what I'm saying. It's just 20 years from now, but she'll still be here. You know, you and I ain't gonna be.
So, Mayor, I think the answer to the question is this. It's kind of an interesting question. So, the city's in a unique position, in a good legal position in this respect. We'll be making the transfer, or we'll be releasing a right of way. And so, essentially, what we can do is, as we release that right of way, we can reserve to ourselves an appropriate utility easement that will allow us to go in and take any action that we're required to take or that we need to take as it relates to the utilities that exist there. And typically, as far as restoration, it would be standard as we would with any other project. I imagine we would return it to the same grade. We would, obviously fill all the holes, and we would fix up the property, and then probably just seed it. And if there was something more that the property owner at that point wanted to do, they could always step in and make it the way that they'd like. But the city's obligation, as far as I'm concerned, or as my opinion goes, would just be to fill the holes and then seed it and at least start it back in the direction of restoration.
And as part of that project, the storm sewer is all brand-new concrete pipe, reinforced concrete pipe. The sanitary sewer is all new polyvinyl chloride, so we're all going to be no longer here at City Hall. 50 years plus that I would expect that there shouldn't be any problems. If there were old utility lines, I would have some reservations as to what can be done or might happen there, but with that stuff being just less than 10 years old, it's got a long useful life ahead of it, and I would not anticipate any maintenance issues that would require us to excavate any of those lines across that property, other than normal sanitary sewer cleaning or storm sewer. You do that from manhole to manhole, and that's not disturbing the property, the turf that they're trying to maintain. And quite frankly, I see it as a benefit to the city. We've got somebody that's maintaining that property, and it puts the property back on the tax rolls on something that I don't see us ever needing as a extension of the roadway through that area, as long as we maintain the utility easements.
If 30 years from now there was some public purpose why that road had to go back with having a utility easement, I mean, there's eminent domain. You can make it happen.
Exactly.
Marty, questions?
Well, I don't agree with any of this.
Okay.
I'm going to go on record to say this is not a vacant lot. This is not a vacant right-of-way. This is a street right-of-way with active utilities. The next council could come in and decide we want to put 8th Street through here. We don't know. It might happen next year. It might not happen for 10 years. It might not happen for 20 years. But I don't believe the city should be selling their right-of-ways of their streets to private parties. It's bad policy, it's a bad idea. If she's maintaining it, well, fine, but the city should be maintaining that. That's public right-of-way. There used to be a park on these two lots just below here. Maybe the city's gonna put a park back in there someday. Maybe the city's gonna develop lots in there someday. Maybe we want driveway through there or a connector road. This is a public street right-of-way, and I feel it should be maintained as such. I don't think we should be giving up our right-of-ways, unless it's part of some big development project where the utilities are going to be relocated, or it's a big development project where it's part of the agreement. I think it's bad policy to be selling our street right-of-ways to any private party. I don't agree with it, and I'm not going to support it.
Mr. Mayor.
Whether we think, we don't know what the future's gonna hold, that's the problem. And we don't know that just because it's new utilities doesn't mean we're gonna have a dig there next winter with a frozen sewer. or a storm sewer that's collapsed due to whatever reason. Sometimes they get installed defectively, as we find out.
No way.
Way. And it could fail tomorrow. The next rainstorm, it could fail. We don't know this. It could last for 50 years, that's the thing. And that's why the city reserves their right-of-ways so they can maintain their facilities. And like I said, we may want, the next council or the council afterwards might want to put the road through there. We don't know. And as we develop up here, we may want that connector road as we develop this new subdivision. So, I understand the intent and the well-meaning wishes of Ms. Smart, but I am opposed to selling our right-of-way.
Adam?
I totally understand why you'd want this and why you'd want to do it. I tend to agree with Marty. And my thoughts or my concerns would be, if we're going to develop Wenton Addition, we have a brand new A Street that does connect people to that area. So when we extend A Street through there, when we develop Wenton, would that be, are we going to have people driving down 7th Street that's even narrower and skinnier and bumpier and not very well? So, I mean, that would be my concern. If we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to develop an area of town, and now we're just going to cut off an access. And it does really screw up your property. You're going to have a street coming right behind there if that did happen. So, I mean, I would be right there with you trying to, how can I make my yard bigger? But I would definitely have some reservations on that, without knowing what the future holds. And we're actively looking at developing all that property behind there.
That's the main thoroughfare into that area.
I think up in like Park Addition up there, there's alley right-of-ways all over that are platted up there that we maintain rights to, don't we? You got them houses that, and they sit right back to back, they're using it in all their yard. There's actually alleys between them that are all platted up there. Like where the commissioner lives in that area up there.
We can't correct the past.
Yeah. No, I think we maintain the rights to them. We haven't sold the rights, I believe. I believe those are, we hold that land. So, Council, what do we want to do with this? You'd be looking for a motion to vacate it and sell it, or not move on it at all. If we don't act on it, it just goes by, right? Or do you want to vote it down?
Well, no action is
moving on. So I'll call for a motion if somebody'd like to sell it. If not, we'll move on.
I just have a question. How much does it cost to get it surveyed or assessed?
Survey?
Surveyed? Yeah, surveyed.
I'd say it's probably a couple.
It's usually $1,000 to $1,500.
Yeah.
The last time I called for a survey it was like $2,500.
Yeah, they're up.
All right, nobody wants to make a motion, so we'll move on. Sorry, folks. Thank you. Let's see, what do we got left, Mandy?
Sewer lateral requests. Counselors, if you'll find in your packet, I had a request for a 50% reimbursement on the sewer lateral bill. And we do have a policy in place, and we currently are in the time frame of reimbursing 50% of the sewer lateral bills on Lake Street. And as you can see in your packet, this is from Northland Lining, and it's for 123 Lake Street, and it's for $5,200, and the city would cover 50% of that cost.
So what was that? Wait.
So, Mr. Mayor, I will make that motion to cover $2,600 of the cost to LBR, whatever, or Northland Lines. Thank you.
That's what they are requesting.
Okay, so April did make a motion to pay the 50% cost that is currently in our basically scale that drops off in 2 years. So is there a second for that?
Support.
Thank you, April. Thank you, Cheyenne. The only thing when we discussed this was normally when we do these, it's because they're having problems with it. and this building's been empty forever, and they're just anticipating it's a problem. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't want them to have a problem either trying to open a new business. So it is what it is. We've already solved where this got to go away in the next year or two. So further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, where are we? All right, so the last item under Mandy is the variance that came out of, for Adam and Kimberly Lance, that came out of the Planning Commission last night.
Monday.
Okay, the other night.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't added, because this was, we did a public hearing that was held on July 11th at 4 p.m. here in the council chambers, and nobody was present at the public hearing. It was published and notified. Mr. and Mrs. Lance are requesting a variance of 19 feet instead of 30 feet for a front yard setback to add on to an existing structure. So basically, the new construction will not encroach any further into the front property line. It's just going to maintain the existing setback. The current setback to build new is 30 feet there, so they do need to apply for a variance before constructing.
I'll ask you what I always ask. We would do this for anybody.
Yes, yep.
And the neighbors, so who do we send notices to
We publish it in the Mesabi Daily Tribune, and then we send notices 150 feet from each bordering property line.
Okay. Council looking for a motion to approve the variance request.
Just a note, there is also in the request was a 13-foot setback for the porch. We do have a front entryway that we wanted to move over, make it 5 feet wider. Again, keeping right with the same porch that's already there existing.
Okay, council looking for a motion to approve that variance request.
I'll make the motion to approve the variance.
Thank you, Marty. Second.
Second.
Thank you, April. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Abstaining, that's not in my book over here. I don't know how to do that. All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Jim Johnson, resolution number 0722-68, master partnership agreement with MnDOT.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. If you go to page 79, which is the resolution, that title is probably just a little bit misleading, and I would encourage us maybe just to cross out for use of MnDOT District 1 number lab testing services. What this is a 5-year renewable contract, master contract with MnDOT, which sets up a working agreement between the city and MnDOT forces for design, construction, maintenance services. It all works through a work order type of program. So it's just setting up a process and a procedure such that if the city requests MnDOT to help us with something, or MnDOT requests Larry and his crews to come in and do some patching or crack sealing or curb repair or something like that, it sets up this process or procedure for executing those activities. And it's a standard contract. It runs for 5 years, starting July 1, and then running for 5 years at a time. This is really just a renewal of the one that just expired as of June 30th. So,
Jim, what did you say in the resolution that should be not in there?
well, I think it's just misleading. It could stay in there, but up on the top under the resolution number, it says approving state of Minnesota master partnership agreement, and that would really be enough. You could cross out, because it talked about for use of MnDOT District 1 lab testing services. That's included in there, but there's lots of other services that are available as well. So it can stay in there. It's just a little bit misleading in what we're trying to pass on to you, because as you go through the actual contract agreement that's back here, it lists all kinds of services and back and forth that can be provided by MnDOT likewise, the city can turn around and,
Yep. Okay, so Jim's looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0722-68 to renew that agreement with MinDOT.
I'll make that motion, taking out the last line on the resolution title.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Second for that. Thank you, Adam. Brian, any issue with that?
No, I have no issue.
Okay. Further discussion?
One question.
Go ahead,
You
Mary.
mentioned in your memo, Jim, about NTS and Brown. We still planning to continue to use those companies for our soil testing services.
when I read the title, I was worried, because it had the lab testing services. As I got more into it, because I've not been involved in doing this in the past, I realized that it was really a two-way master partnership agreement for whatever services one wants to request of the other, in a means of handling that or allowing the administrator to execute those work orders.
Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jim, pay application number 1 for 2022 street rehabilitation project.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. In this past month, we did accomplish our 25 blocks of mill and overlay and so forth. And this, the application number 1, actually includes all the quantities and costs for that project. It's just that we need to go through the execution of the final paperwork in order to final it out. So this is the application number 1. This should be the final cost, final quantities, and so forth. But we will have another pay application coming through probably next month that will release the 5% retained. What I think you have at your desk that I passed out to you, if you go to page 98, and it's the same sheet that Stephanie is passing out to you, what we've got here is total work completed, as you'll see in there, was 442,000. It's too bad, I can't read the
697.
697 something. Too clear. But looking up above, you see the base bid, alternative bid number 1, number 2, number 3, and then you below that kind of that solid block line at the midpoint is change order number 1, which was the deletion of that 3rd Avenue piece by the school, but the addition of 3rd Street Southwest down by the Iron Kettle. Those are all part of the city's direct contract over which you had authority. What you see right below that then is change order number 2, which is the Hillcrest Terrace parking lot and driveway, which is the Bell engineering thing. And in the handout that you've got, you'll see that the total construction cost, which is administered by the EDA, not by the city council, that total is total work done for that was $25,965.87. And then at the bottom, I give you the breakdown of what the total work was done. The city portion was the $416,731.19. And then for Hillcrest, the $25,965. Right below that, I show you the 5% retainage that totals, as you see up above, the $22,000 and how that's broken out. So what the council is actually approving tonight is the payment of $395,894.63 for the base bids, the alternatives, plus change order number 1. It's excluding change order number 2, which is administered by the EDA. So,
Can you say that number one more time? Can you say that number one more time?
395, whatever.
It should be right, it's right at the bottom.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The breakdown of what all the work was broken out of, what total work, less the 5%, 5% retained, and what to do now for each of those 2 entities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. With that,
It's on this sheet, Marty.
Okay.
all that numbers are part of it. So it's just really the bookkeeping for the city purposes is what it amounts to, and Misty and I went through this today, so it gets allocated to the proper accounts in terms of paying this bill. So what I'm asking the city to pay at this point as part of pay application number 1 out of the city funds is the $395,894.63. And Stephanie will take the balance of $24,667.58 to the EDA board for their approval to pay that total amount that's due at this time.
Council, so we're looking for that motion to approve pay application 1, $395,894.63. Looking for motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Jim, I have just one comment.
Certainly, please.
The streets look good. They do look good when you get done. Okay, these things were just garbage, right? And I thought about this the other day. I was thinking, we always use this excuse, we can only do the ones with good utilities because we might have to dig one up. And I think to myself, well, if you ain't digging them up for 20 years and you have to dig one up, all you got is one little square that's screwed up. The rest looks nice. So, you might have to think about that sometime, when we can't get to these. Because they do look nice. And if you did have to dig one up, so you got a square there, right? Dig up, there might be some, you could maybe go a little further with some that are a little better even, But it's just a thought.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, we had an example, Mandy and I have been working on a issue with the sanitary sewer service down on 3rd Street Southwest. And we actually had to have our crews go in with our new camera and televise the main line to find out just where that service was at. But that gives us the opportunity to see what is the condition of that main line pipe. And that one, what we've seen so far, is in relatively good condition, but the street itself is failing. It's rubbleized. If they had to dig in a new service, putting gravel back there would probably be better than what the existing pavement surface. So your point is exactly right. And I thank the PUC and the council for parting that camera, because it is going to allow us to do a better evaluation and identify those streets that sanitary sewer is good enough. It's got to last us another 20 years. So it's not wasting money. But you're right, there can still be failures, but it's a spot repair as opposed to every joint every 2 feet along a clay pipe where we've got root intrusion or broken pipes, those types of things. So thank you.
I'm not going to break.
Okay, we have motion and support. Further discussion, Council? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Jim, your last item, application number 7 for 3rd Street Northwest Improvement Project.
Basically, this is work that was done during June and consists, as I say in my request for council action, consisting mainly of some quantity corrections, but primarily work that was finished up during June. And as you see in that second to the last set of columns under this payment, you see the quantities and costs associated with that. Most of it is work that was just being finished up, and finishing the storm sewer rip-wrapping at the west end of the project, the insulation. We're paying for the installation of those water services, but not the digging of it all. Only that we would have had to pay for anyway, and so forth. And the cleaning and televising of the remainder of the sanitary sewer. So what I've got before you, the total work accomplished, as you'll see on page 101, for this payment is $14,177.90. From that, we withhold the 5%. So, and what that, taking off that 5% results in that amount due of $13,469. I would recommend it for your approval.
Hey, Jim, can I ask you a question? We put an extension on that, I think, earlier this spring to allow them a little more time. No?
Not yet.
We haven't.
It's the final completion. Well, our discussion really last year was not meeting the substantial completion date, which was having everything done except putting on the bituminous square course surface. The final completion date was either June 30th, I think June 30th or July 1 of this year. Let me go back. The substantial completion that was to be done by the end of August last year included turf restoration, which did not get done, and just got probably 99% done here in the last week or two, but it's still not complete either. But the final completion date, which is putting on the wearing course surface as well, at the date of June 30th or July 1. That has not, we have not reached final completion of that project. We still haven't repaved the trenches. The sodding is not done. Part of the discussion that is going on, we have not received from the contractor requests for a time extension. One of the things that we have been talking to them about, though, is to extend the final completion date to basically a year from now, June 30th of 2023. Our reason for that is with the digging up of those 4 water services, we expect there to be trench settlement, and we'd like that trench settlement to happen over this coming winter, such that if there are repairs of those trenches, it happens then. And then when we put down the final wearing course surface, we don't have patches and a brand new pavement and so forth. We have suggested that to them. We have not received a response from them. So things are, quite frankly, in limbo right now.
Jim, let me just say something to you. You obviously know I'm not real happy with this project, like not at all.
Sorry.
This might be the worst project I've ever seen in my life, okay? And I was there today with you and Stephanie and Larry when we looked at some of these, and when I looked at Matt Reed and said, how does this happen? I pay you, I sign a contract with you guys, just you guys, to make sure these things don't get missed. And he didn't really give me the answer I liked very much. Well, what do I do, hold a gun to their head? Actually, I thought the answer to that question was yes. That is sort of what we hire you to do. But anyway, apparently that got back to somebody else, because I got a call from SCH today. And they wanted a candid opinion of what I thought. And I basically chewed them up and down and said, you have one job. After you design a project, you got one job. Make sure it is built correctly. We pay you to do that. I said, I don't know how I ever use you again. I do not know how I use you again. I cannot tell the council we should use you right now. So the individual said, what do we got to do? I said, the project's not done yet. You better figure out who you work for. You work for us. Okay, I don't want to be, what are we going to do here? No, if they're not getting done on time, they got to deal with it. If things aren't getting done right, they got to deal with it. That's what we hire them to do. So they know that right now. So you might hear some of this in the next few days. That happened just before this meeting.
I'm glad to hear that, because things that Larry and I have been chewing on with that company are actually going up the line, since they're hopefully getting the message from more than just from me and
Yeah.
Larry.
Well, and Mr. Larson, who called me, Mike Larson, I've known him for years. And he thanked me at the end of the conversation and said, we're going to have a long talk back at the office. So, but this,
Thank you,
you know,
for doing that.
I mean, like I said, you know, it was a subcontractor that did the work of Bugalis, but the end result is their job is to make sure it's done right.
Right.
The way it's on the drawings, or I need to know why it's not being done, or you do anyway, right? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous to find a service at 4 feet, not even insulated. They have to be between 7 and 8, and if they're closer to 7, they're supposed to be insulated. I mean, it's unacceptable. So, and then, you know, we're past when they should be done this spring, and, you know, and I'm hearing things like you're going to want more for sod. You get no more money for sod. No, it was supposed to be done last year, so it ain't. It's not good. So I'm sorry I went on a rant there, but this one, you know, and then you know, you've been around this game long enough when you have to go replace a dozen sections of curb services because it was done wrong. Marty, you're an engineer. What a disaster this turns into, you know. And poor Stephanie gets in the middle, asks me what to do. I said, why is this our fault? Tell them to make it right. That's what their job is. So I don't have any problem with this pay request. It's work that was done, but we're gonna have a long talk before this thing's done. And if I'm gone, I hope the council has a real long talk. So, motion to accept the pay request, council.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Marty. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
So I just want to, again, go on the record and say that this is the second project that I've been part of that this company has royally screwed up. Since I sat in this chair, I will continue to vote no for that company, for that engineering service, and for a pay request until there is a solid number that we are charging them for being late on their services. And I know that discussion hasn't happened yet, but the people deserve better than this, and we continue to just pay them what they want to get paid. I mean, what's the harm if we say we're not going to pay this?
This is work that would have been done whether.
I get it, but at the same time, if, I don't see them crawling to the table saying, "Hey, what can we, how much are you gonna? What's our number? What's our no?" I mean, I don't like the company. I'm over the engineering service. I will never vote for them again, as long as I sit here.
Any other discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, we're done with Jim. Katie, good evening. Resolution number 0722-6. But it didn't take you long to get money rolling in again when you walked in the door. Resolution 0722-69, accept donations in honor of Elsie Maturi.
Elsie Maturi, yes. We got 7 donations in honor of Elsie. Larry and Betty Kruchowski, $20. Michael and Nancy Carney, $30. Mary Jean and Ed Waters, $25. John and Roseanne Kempinen, $25. Corey Dormanen, $50. Phyllis and Antinosi, $10. And we had an anonymous donor of $25, totaling $185. And Elsie was a wonderful woman. She served on the library board for 3 years in 2018. Every year she helped me with the flowers at the library, and she will be greatly missed.
Well, thank you for the donation, and we're looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0722-69 and accept that donation.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Do we normally send a thank you to everybody? So that's the part of the motion and support, I'm sure. Okay.
And those have been sent.
Oh, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 0722-70, accept donations in honor of Sandy Novak.
Yes. This donor is previous library director Mary Zeitz and Jim Zeitz donated $50 in honor of Sandy Novak, and Sandy was part of our Friends of the Library group and also a great lady and will be missed. So thank you to Mary and Jim for that donation.
Council looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0722-70 and accept that donation of $50.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Cheyenne, second.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Katie. Eileen?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. So included in your packet is a resolution to appoint election officials and judges as required by Minnesota statutes in regard to the 2022 primary and general elections and healthcare facility voting. The list of election officials and judges are those individuals who have accomplished the required training. So I'm just looking for your approval.
Council looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0722-71 and appoint the appointment of election officials and judges.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Marty. Eileen, just a question. Do you get enough people? Or do you have to reduce the number, or do you have?
Just right on the line.
Okay.
We have sufficient amount of
Okay, good.
judges, so it works out well.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
since there's a couple of us running, do we have to abstain?
Do we have enough left to pass the vote?
There's
Yeah.
two running.
There's only two.
Yeah, then an abstention would be the best practice.
Thank you.
I got a motion already, right? You made it? And Marty seconded it. Any further discussion, council? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
2 abstains. That's everybody, so I don't need to call for a nay. So that motion passes. Thank you. And then Eilina is going to do a quick little PowerPoint for us on quarterly financial report.
Mr. Mayor.
Can we take a 5?
Yes.
Let's take a 5 while she sets it up and we'll
Thank you.
reconvene. Everybody's dying here. So. I think we're getting on like till 8 o'clock, aren't we, Marty?
Yeah, until 9 o'clock. We used to go till 9 o'clock sometimes.
It's open more on midnight. We only have to be here like one night out of the month.
How you doing, Brian?
Doing all right. Dad.
That's really busy.
Well, I was out of town for 2 weeks.
And what? You came last night.
Yeah, I can.
Is there anything that surrounds it?
Yeah, right. They can hear me no matter what.
Missed the line.
Oh, yeah, that's really.
I was trenching for a gas line.
That way, because I think I'll keep it back. We have to replat that whole area. Because there's some parts that just don't have time. But there was, I mean, the way that street comes in, it kind of veers up like this, then the right of way comes across like this, then the other street is up over here. And then down below, there's part that the city doesn't own any of this, any of it. Then there's a part of it where the city owns a chunk in some guy's front yard, then the road's over here.
All right, whenever we're ready, council, we'll get started. Okay, we're back live again. For those watching at home, we just took a little 5. The meeting's getting a little long. Everybody needed a break. So we're going to move on here now. We're going to have a presentation by our clerk treasurer, quarterly financial report.
Good evening, everyone. So my intention was to record a video to make this short and sweet, so we could fly through this immense agenda. But I was only able to record my introduction, so let me do that,
Smiley face.
Good evening, welcome to tonight's presentation. How do we get it on the TV?
It is.
No, I mean the sound.
It is.
It is?
Just turn it up.
Turn it up. Oh.
No, on the TV. Oh, yeah.
Right here?
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's presentation of the fourth quarter 2021 and first quarter 2022 revenue and expense reports for the general and enterprise funds. When we take a look at numerical data and organize it in a way that helps to make dollars and cents of the financial information presented. Some important considerations I'd like to identify are: one, the fourth quarter 2021 presentation represents unaudited year-end data, which will be affected by fiscal year 2021 adjusting journal entries provided by the auditors. We expect to receive these journal entries by August 2022. Number 2, the first quarter 2022 presentation does include general fund revenues. In prior first and second quarter presentations to council, I've chosen to exclude them due to the timing of local government aid received reporting. Local government aid accounts for approximately 50% of our revenue proceeds, which we receive in the months of July and December. Also in prior quarterly presentations, I presented the city cash balances, which will not be presented tonight. I feel that these will be better represented in our upcoming financial planning presentations. So, without further ado, let's get started. Thank you very much. Tonight's presentation. So the way I'm approaching the presentation of financials is just to look at revenues and expenses, right? We want a picture of where we stand. And this is normally what I provide at the PUC meetings. So one additional consideration you have to keep in mind is these are unaudited numbers and they'll change once the audit completes. We'll do some adjusting journal entries, we'll move dollar amounts between accounts, and so just keep that in mind. I wanted to identify some exceptions. So here we have the revenue listed, the description. In this particular screen here that I'm showing, we have the budget for 2021, and then we have actual as of 12/31/2021. So I did a little formula. It brings up anything that exceeds 100%. So just to give you some information about the 752, that is related to IRRB grants that we collected in excess of what we budgeted. In regard to this 290%, that is related to miscellaneous revenues, where we put the majority of revenues collected that don't fall in any of the other categories. This is a big general ledger account that will be adjusted by the auditors at the end of the year. Some examples are some of the rebates that Larry gets for LED lighting. Most recently, some payments for the gambling that the city receives is 10%, 3%, I forget. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of revenues collected. So that we have to address. And then this 462 in other financing sources, this is the collection of insurance reimbursements. So we had an accident, we filed a claim, that's where we put the money when LMC sends us a check for that claim. Any questions on this portion of revenue? So in regard to expenses, the form is the same with the exception of the department number inserted here in this first column. So I'll identify a couple of exceptions. 523% for the ambulance department. That would be directly related to the purchase of the building. Another one I wanted to identify is at the bottom under miscellaneous, it's at 216%. This is because of the ATV grant expenses that we paid. We also received money from that agency to reimburse us for that, for those costs. Any questions on this sheet? Right on. Okay, on to enterprise revenue and expenses. Here again, I'll identify some big numbers. The same format. The highlighted cells that represent anything over 100%. So these are pretty relatively low, and it's by the water department here, revenues and expenses. Nothing too significant to report. Sewer, revenue and expenses. This 144% here for sewer is related to the purchase of a camera that was approved by the PUC. Larry's not here to elaborate on that, but that's why it was over 100% spent. And then in refuse, we have here in the refuse disposal that is directly tied to our St. Louis County solid waste dump fees. And depreciation is at 125 because we just didn't do a good job of budgeting. That was an error on my part. I'll take responsibility for that. And here in campground, you can see the revenues generated far exceed our budget. We're at 237%. I wouldn't pay too much attention to these up here because there's some anomalies, right? The equation didn't support this budget balance, or this budget balance of $0. So really that 237% represents the 63,700 compared to 100,000. So the campground did perform well in 2021. And then as far as the expenses at 173%, this was due to the water heater breaking down. I had to replace that. I believe it was at the laundry. Any questions here? Okay, let's move on to first quarter general fund. So, just some quick mentions in regard to, so we should be at 25%. So in regard to revenues, we collected 48.4% under licenses and permits, and that's directly tied to on and off sale liquor licenses. So I was quite surprised to see that. And then under other financing is again tied to insurance reimbursements. And then under expenses, 28.2% I wanted to mention is a reflection of some new doors that we purchased here in the building. I think maybe we were. Those were unbudgeted. And then under skating rinks, this 37% represents all the wages we paid. But skating rinks is only active during the winter, right? So it seems like it's a big deal, but it's not. Any questions on this? Okay, we're at the finish line, just about. All right, first quarter enterprise funds. Just a couple that I wanted to point out. Under water purification, the expense account here is at 33%. This is because of workers' comp and liability insurance, which we pay once a year. So it makes it look like we're overspent. And then also with interest here at 37%, that's because we make interest payments twice a year. So that reflects the 1 or 2 payments that we make in the entire year. And then under sewer department, this 29.97%, this is directly due to Central Iron Range sanitary sewer district costs. That's 29% represents our cost above 25% in comparison to our budget. And then here again, interest, it's a 2 times a year payment, which we've made one thus far in first quarter and another in third quarter. And then at the bottom, I wanted to show you ground expenses. We're at 27.48%, and this is due to some SEH consulting work that transpired at Canada. Any questions? All right, that's it.
Good job. Thank you.
That's just information.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. We'll move on then. That was just informational, so we don't need to do anything with it. All right, so we'll move on to staff needs items. Resolution number 0722-72, accept grants for new scoreboard. Steph?
Yes. Yep. Just to accept the grants in the amount of $3,000 from the Chisholm Community Foundation for the new scoreboard for the arena. So I'm looking for a motion.
Council looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0722-72 to accept that donation.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we had a presentation earlier from Dave Sanda. Stephanie, you got it written down what they're looking for dirt.
Yep, they're looking for 20 yards of class 5. There was a little bit of conflict, but he did clear it up that they will be hiring somebody to do the concrete slab. In the request here, it looks like he wanted the city to do that, but the request was 20 yards of class 5 and to coordinate with the city or approve to move the bucket. I believe that was
everything.
and to support the project.
Council, I gotta get a motion for that. I think it's great these folks do this stuff for us and they get the money to do it, so.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. April, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Downtown Beautification Committee request that Julie talked about. Steph?
Yep, just one quick correction on that. It's the Downtown Revitalization Committee instead of beautification. So many committees that are doing good things. As Julie discussed, the project is already fully funded by a grant that they have received. They're looking for support from the city on this project, so they can move forward.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April. Second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion other than a big thank you to that group like we've been giving all night?
Do we want to clarify where that is? 316, isn't that our address up here? I know we own the lot down there, so.
Does
think
it say
it's-
360?
I think it's 116, ain't it?
Oh,
The memo
excuse
should
me.
be 22.
No, it's gotta be like 20.
So it's 22
Yeah,
West
it's,
Lake
yeah,
Street.
yeah. Apologize for that.
Yeah, it says right here on top. 20.
If you look it up on the
Yeah,
tax
20
registry, it does say 316 as the owner.
Right, as the owner.
Okay, the
yeah.
city's the owner.
Yeah, it's 22.
It-
22 West Lake Street. It's a
22.
vacant lot.
Motion maker, that's the
Yeah.
motion you made?
That's
You
right.
second?
That's
Yeah,
right, Brenda.
22. Okay.
22.
You good with that?
We're going to
Good,
support
I'm
that
good,
project,
I'm
okay.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I was looking at the lot.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to that group again. Special meeting to canvass votes either August 11th or August 12th. As we mentioned earlier, the election is August 9th. We have to do it at least 20,
It's 2 or 3 days after the election. It has to be the 11th or the 12th. No other option.
let's look at the calendar quick. Oh, look at that. I can do either one. 11th? That's Thursday. 11th?
Yeah, that's fine.
5 o'clock, it'll take 2 seconds to do it. We'll call it the meeting, accept the numbers and adjourn, right?
Yep.
Motion to hold a meeting on August 11th at 5 PM. We'll need a quorum, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Special meeting, we gotta post it on the, post-it? Okay,
Got it.
all right. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, Steph, I'm just gonna give it to you.
Yep. So as we heard with Fishing with Vets, the fundraiser that they hold here in Chisholm, what they're requesting is on Saturday, September 10th, to have the street blocked off from 8 a.m. until midnight. The noise ordinance lifted until 11 o'clock. A community festival declared. The Bridge of Peace blocked off from noon until midnight on that date. And support from the city, both on the PD side and Public Works for street closures and cleanup, and as on the PD side for just assistance with the event, with having a band and alcohol in the streets.
Did we get everything?
That's it.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Adam. Further discussion, council? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's Stephanie. Thank you. Okay, Travis, Chisholm Community Foundation Annual Golf Scramble.
Yeah, so just following historical data for this, I guess. Last year, we approved up to $1,000 for sponsoring the lunch and advertisements, marketing and advertising dollars for the lunches, sponsored by the city, and I just asked that we do that again.
Council motion to advertising promotion for that event in an amount of $1,000, up to $1,000.
So, just, Councilor Baki, I have a question, or Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Councilor Baki.
Yep.
So, is it for lunch?
Lunch.
Okay, so what about bringing the money back into town?
For the dinners at Valentini's.
Yeah, what, can we sponsor the dinner?
The dinners are way more expensive. So the lunch is a boxed lunch that you get on the course, and it says right on the box, sponsored by City of Chisholm. So it's just an easy.
It's actually, it's for advertising and promotion, but in their own head down there, they're thinking they might use it for lunch.
Yeah.
But they're gonna use it for advertising and promotion for the city.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Did I get a motion yet?
I'll make the
Did I
motion.
lost?
Second.
Motion by Adam, second by April.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
do we have money in the budget for, like,
Miscellaneous.
We could, there's contingency funds that can be taken out of, yes.
okay.
If that's the wish, yes, we could.
I'm not opposed to that.
We should make it a line item this year.
Agreed.
We'll take it out again for next year.
Agreed.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Travis. So at the last council meeting, council, we had a petition brought forward from residents in the area of Devon Steffens Root School. Jim also has an ordinance here, or just state law, isn't it? State law, excuse me. And it talks a little bit about speed zoning in schools and whatnot, and it can't be lower than 15 miles per hour when children are present. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to be in school. I think it says there. You know, there's a four-way intersection right on the southwest corner of Devon. You know, there's probably a block and a half, 2 blocks to the west or to the east, maybe 2.5 blocks to the north. I think we should lower it, say curfew hours, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. to 15 miles per hour. They're not pulling them over unless it's 20 anyway, you know?
If you read this, I don't think it can be set like that. It's when children are present.
I don't think it says that. When children are present.
When children are present, so if children aren't present, and it's only for the block adjacent to the school, so you can't go the next block up.
Well, I would only do it, so I would do it from the, you know, what you would consider the school on the south side and what you'd consider the school on the west side.
Right.
The property bar, and it would be during, I don't care what the terms are, I think we should slow them down. There's kids there, there's more kids in that area than anywhere in this town. You can go there right now, there's a bunch of them playing on the equipment, I guarantee you that right now. So, and coming down out of Park Addition, you know, that's concerning, but, so what do we think we gotta make the law? Brian, what do you think it needs to be? I don't know, maybe the council don't even wanna change it. I think we should change it. I think we should reduce it. I know everywhere in the world it says 20, but 20 is 26. Before you guys get your hair on the back of your neck stands up.
No, I mean,
Should be on each side of the Vaughn, right? That's what we're talking about.
Basically the V of Devon, yeah. The streets that are run in front of both sides of it.
Isn't it just during school hours? Like
No,
when you drive through Superior, doesn't it say school zone 20?
or when children, you can do it while, you can only do it during school zone or while children are present from what I read on. It's not a curfew till 10. There's nobody there, no kids from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. It's 30 again. And the lowest we can drop a speed limit in town is 25 from 30. Isn't it 25? Unless it's a school zone, like this. But I mean, a regular.
So it would say speed zone 15 mile per hour when children are present. And it don't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning?
Correct.
Correct.
When children are present.
I like that.
There's options. You're right. The supplemental signs to the speed limit sign can be such that when children are present, you can establish certain hours, like when the kids are going to or from school, you know, from 7 to 8 a.m. and from 3 to 4. There's options as to what that restriction is. What makes the most sense, because it's used as a neighborhood playground, would be when children are present.
Yes.
And then would you order the school zone signs?
Yes, yeah, we have to meet the standards of the Minnesota Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Manuals. It's got school across the top, then it has a speed limit sign, and then it has a supplemental plate as to when it's enforceable.
Yep.
Awesome.
So are there two signs? Are there signs saying 30 miles an hour, 15 when children are present? Or is it just the 15 when? The one thing they do.
We had to sign it in advance of where the speed limit actually becomes enforceable, where we have to put the advanced speed limit reduction sign, and at the end of the zone, we have to again sign it that school speed limit is no longer enforced or no longer applicable. So whatever directions we're coming and going, so we'll have, sets along 9.5 Street, going both directions to that intersection that the mayor is talking about, as well as on First Avenue Northeast.
And it looks like they were only asking for the 9.5 Street. So maybe I'm jumping out ahead of it, but I thought, there's just as much chance. The other way is a pretty long stretch too. It comes all the way from that. It starts as dirt and it goes quite a way.
Yeah. I didn't know if they're asking from First all the way through. I'm not sure where the individuals live, where the main issues are.
Basically, part of it, as I explained at last month's council meeting, we just got back the report from the planning portion from the Northeast Minnesota group down in Duluth that was taking us through that planning grant. And part of what we've got to do now is come up with that school route plan, which deals with signage, dealing with sidewalks, crossings, painting crosswalks, signing speed limits, the whole works. Quite frankly, I could possibly see where we'll have school crossings on 9.5 and possibly on 10, crossing First Avenue Northwest, which is a county road. That might be another one where we may want to look at, but part of this whole study is supposed to be done on the basis of traffic engineering and traffic analysis, speed limits, number of counts, number of kids, number of vehicles, those types of things. So that's a report that we've got to put together in order for us to then go after improvement grants through the same program, through the Minnesota Department of Transportation, that will provide us, help us with funding for sidewalks, painting, signs, those types of things, so it's on.
So what do you think, you got
Yeah.
you got a thought on what we should do here?
Well, it says upon basis of the engineering and traffic investigation, which is what we're in the middle of right now. I just don't know if this is premature, because we're in the middle of that. We met with that coalition, or that group. We're in the middle of that. I don't know if it's completed yet, that's why I don't know. Might still be happening.
I think it needs to move forward. I wouldn't be against putting a temporary in place, but I can wait too. The wheels of government can move slow at time. I understand that, and I don't know. I just, we have a request. They have a real concern. I have a concern. I think many of us have a concern. So I
think we should put them up.
Do you have? I mean, are we going to be able to get signs before the school year?
I would just, yes.
It's forever anyway, Travis, until we do something different with the traffic study, right?
No, I just mean the signs, so we can put them up. If we don't have them, we got to order them, right?
Right, we would have to order them.
Yeah. Will they get here by the school year? That's all I was asking. If not, then I don't see the point in making this informational and waiting a little longer. If we can get them before school.
My best guess is that they will be available, or that we can get them in short order.
Okay.
So what do you want to do? What do we want to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Marty?
whether the study from Safe House to School, whatever that report says or whatever that is, I don't think us putting up signs is gonna
We're just gonna incorporate it.
We're actually probably jumping ahead of what they would recommend anyway. I'm sure they would probably recommend that. They're not gonna oppose that for sure, so I think putting up, I'd make the motion to do both 9.5 Street and First Avenue in front of the school. They're both streets in front of the school. Put up these 50 miles an hour when children are present, because it just needs to be done. It should have been done probably a long time ago.
And put them up right, however Jim feels that they need to be put up, the way we have to put them.
For the manual.
Standards, yeah.
So would you make me a motion for that?
I made a motion for 9.5 Street, and is it First Avenue Northeast? I believe it's
Correct.
North-south there at the bottom. The first.
I think it's First
Avenue Northeast.
Yeah, it'd be First Avenue Northwest.
Support.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Yes.
I just want to make sure our attorney has no issue with this.
No issue with the way that the signage has been discussed in making the speed limit specific to when children are present. I'm on board.
Wonderful.
Further discussion? Good question. Sometimes I forget about them guys because they kill my perfectly good plan sometimes.
That's fair.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, another great event coming to town. Let me get the name right because they changed the name. Ride Across Minnesota event, formerly known as MS Tram. So they want to use our football field, and they want to call it a bike corral. Let me find it. So we want to use it as a bike corral. The dates are July 18th to the 20th. They're going to use the museum for their tent city, whatever they call it, right? And they want to use our football field for the bike corral during the event. Campground will be used. They want to use our campground to hose, water, and drain the shower truck and provide extra shower facilities. So they want to kind of lean on our campground, our dumping station, and our water a little bit. Is that everything?
They are also going to camp in the parking lot in between the Minnesota Museum and the football field for campers. So the tents will be inside the Minnesota Museum, but they don't want the campers all there, so that will be in the parking lot.
Somebody should reach out just to do it to the armory people. They don't use it that much now, but when they do use it, they fill that entire parking lot. We better make sure we don't end up with some kind of weird conflict. Looking for a motion to approve that, but pending on that we don't have some major conflict there.
And the ambulance staff too.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you, Travis. Yes, that's in here as well. But they're always available for us.
They are requesting an ambulance actually on site.
On site. How's that? That's gonna be tough, eh?
I've got all but one, I think a 1 hour block. Yep.
Okay, we'll make it work. We got a new MT that started just now.
I've already texted her.
All right, motion to approve the request.
Yeah.
Thank you. Adam, second by Travis.
Yep.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Annual meeting with the airport, Hibbing Chisholm, Airport Authorities, Hibbing Chisholm City Council. Please, 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 council, try to be there for me this year. It's embarrassing. And it's good information on what they do, but they're looking to hold that meeting Monday, August 15, 2022 at 6 p.m. I know they don't give us a lot to choose from, but they're trying to coordinate 2 boards and, yeah, so. Look for motion to hold that meeting with the Hibbing City Council and the 2 airport authorities on August 15, 2022 at 6 p.m.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Marty. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
I just want to be very upfront. I may not make it to that. It's the day after my mother's birthday.
Okay.
I'm taking her to a concert for her birthday, so
Nice.
don't
Nice.
I'll be there.
I can tell you, every birthday your mother has is a good thing, because mine don't have any more. Well, she does. They're just heavenly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so now we're back to this item. The fair has some conflicts. They're trying to create a fenced-in beer garden. You got the letter in front of you. I'm gonna let both our police chief and our attorney chime in on this. But there has been some discussion about doing this. I don't know if it's in here. I don't know if I read it. That it is in there. That they want to look at doing this for next year. But we're down police staff. We got our own concerns here without it. But Vern, your concerns here to start with. I know you have some concerns.
I'm not against it, but I'm kind of against it this year. You're talking a major change at the fair. You want me up there?
Yeah, why don't you come up?
Although the St. Louis County Fair has gotten to be an uneventful event over the last several years compared to what we started off with over 20 years ago, and we've cut police coverage up there just because it's been uneventful. This year, because of the Outlaws, I'm really going to bare bones up there and praying that we don't have anything go on. We can pull in staff. I can request from other departments if we wanted to. That expense would be passed on to the fair. But one of my issues with this is a major change. And if it's going to be a major change, I want to have extra guys on for it. Because with any change, I just want to prepare for the worst, and this ain't the year to do that. And calling in outside agencies that don't perhaps police like us or follow the same guidelines we do, I would feel better with my staff there. And that's my only real hiccup with it. No problem trying it next year. We'll staff it out the way we feel appropriate. And one of the discussions I had with the fair is security's their responsibility. It falls under our jurisdiction because they don't actually have a plan for security other than, can we have some cops? And if we weren't able to be there, what would their plan for security be? So that's kind of my sticking point. I'm okay with it next year when I have a full staff, a company of officers that go out there, but we're gonna be down here on this street, most of us, so.
Vern, when you think about the concept, let's say we decide not to let them do it this year, but we consider doing it next year. What are some parameters that you think are important for policing it? That they mentioned some. Okay, we're not going to let them walk around with 2 beers. They can only leave with 1 when they leave the beer garden. I heard it said that let's not put beer gardens everywhere out there. Beer stands, right? Have 1 or 2 and limit that. So, thoughts on parameters, and then I'll.
Well, and Brian brought up the word controls the best, and I'm sure he thinks about more than I do. But yeah, just some of the controls that they're saying. This is what I was told. Everybody have a wristband. If you don't have a wristband on, your beer will be automatically dumped. Okay, who's gonna dump that beer? My staff? Their staff? Anybody walking around, if you see someone with a beer without a wristband, slap it on their hands, would you? I can see already somebody brings a beer, oh, he brings it to his wife, oh, you want one here? She doesn't have a wristband. You're gonna take a $5 beer out of someone's hand and dump it. This is where I'm talking about the issues start to evolve.
Okay.
That nobody really sees, because, I mean, I'm paying $5 for a beer or more, I don't know what it's gonna cost, but it's gonna be, what really are those parameters of
Okay,
when they
good.
take it out of their hands? How are you gonna manage the wristbands? How are you gonna manage one person, not carrying more than one? Where are those stations gonna be? Close to, close to where the kids sneak in? Because people sneak in. How do you keep it out of those minors' hands? Liability, insurance, just things that we've got to look at that could come about from this.
Good. Brian, so just throwing it on your desk, same question, concerns you have, parameters we should look at, but address the liability. Whose liability? Is it ours? Is it theirs? It's their event. So talk a little bit about that.
It is their event, so they would be primarily liable. But there is some potential for the city. Number one, we would have to make sure that we're named as additional insureds on all insurances. There'd have to be appropriate dram shop in place, and the dram shop insurance may not like the idea of kind of free ranging and being able to roam with these alcoholic beverages. The other concept that I always keep in mind is while it's their event and while it's their liability primarily, when I talk or when I mention in the emails and the exchanges about what controls would be in place, we as a city have a responsibility, at least when we're authorizing these sorts of things, to be able to say, well, we've looked into it and we feel that there is a reasonable plan with reasonable controls in place. Because if we don't do that, someone else's liability could leak over into the city a little bit. Anybody who, say an event occurs and somebody's injured and something goes wrong, well, yeah, of course you sue whoever the liquor license holder is, whoever's serving it, and then you look for anybody else who's got money in their pockets, which is always a city, and they're going to say, well, city, you approved this and you didn't have a reasonable way to verify that things were going to be safe. You knew that you were going to have a shortage of officers to patrol up there because you knew you had another event coming on or going on at the same time, and you approved it anyways. And it starts to look like something that, while it hopefully wouldn't catch a lot of traction, it's at least something that'll give people something to argue about should something go wrong. And so I think I share the same opinion as the chief does. I take no opinion one way or the other about whether or not this should be allowed. I do have an opinion. I think the liability increases quite a bit, and maybe to an unreasonable extent, if we try and hurry it for this year, especially given the fact that we may not have appropriate staffing levels to be able to get up there and do it. The worst thing that can happen, one of the worst things that can happen is you see this change take effect this year. You see people being able to roam around more freely with the alcoholic beverages, and people see that there aren't as many law enforcement officers up there, so all of a sudden it becomes kind of a free-for-all. Some of these, the minors get it, some of these things that we know people will try to do start happening. We don't have enough staff up there to really patrol it or observe it, and all of a sudden the fair gets an immediate reputation that it's a place where these things are going on. And so I think the first year that if it were to be instituted the first year, we should make sure we have enough people there and enough presence so that people see that we are actually kind of keeping an eye on it.
Well said.
Chime in from the council. Should we decline, Marty?
Well, so the alternative for them is they would corral
Just
an
like
area
they all-
inside.
yeah.
Like they have corralled in the past, it's just going to be inside of a building instead of out in that.
Well, they could still be in there. Right now, they don't have a building. They have a fenced in area. They're actually looking at moving inside a building because there's a lot of change going on up there right now. And like last minute things where they're going to put stuff. But still, corralled into an area where only adults can come in.
And it has to be
the beer
consumed on
stays
site.
there.
Yep,
Yes.
on site.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and we have already approved that for the most part already tonight.
approved
So,
that, correct.
so council, what do you want to do? You want to just direct the city administrator, get a hold of them, let them know that we decline this additional request.
Yeah, that's what I would
For the year.
I think so.
I got a
Yeah.
quick question.
Keep it corralled.
Go ahead.
Future use, you're short-staffed, is, reaching out to the school that have, officers in training, having them come and help with security? Is that an option?
That is an option. I would rather, rather get law enforcement, just because of powers of arrest, and local law enforcement. That sometimes is struggling. This year at the school, and there's 8 cadets. So, in the second year, so they're a little bit down in numbers as well. But I prefer to use the law enforcement just for powers of arrest. Well, we have used them too and doubled up with the officers and given them some experience.
Okay.
So let's make it official, just so they have it. A motion to just direct the city administrator to reach out to the agricultural board and let them know that the additional, the free roaming beer garden isn't going to fly this year, basically.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Second for that.
Second.
Thank you, April. Further discussion? I think it's the right thing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Vern. Thank you, Brian. Council, Vern can talk a little bit about this, but we had a former police officer of the city of Chisholm that was serving on our police commission, James Bouquet. He did take part-time work with Braytoon Police Department. Our charter says that police commission, he cannot be in a police commission in that capacity while he's in that capacity. My thought would be, let's not reinvent the wheel tonight. Let's tell Jim thank you, but please submit your resignation and we'll put somebody else on there. I included Mr. Hankey's application as well because I think we have the ability to put him on there if we want right now. He still wants to serve. He's been great on our boards, or we can go out for applications. It wouldn't matter to me either way. But Don is still willing to serve, and he was the one that got left out when Jim got on the board. So my recommendation, I guess, would be to have Vern reach out to Jim and tell him to submit his resignation and to appoint Don Hankey to the board to finish the remainder of the term.
Brian, did I interpret that wrong in our conversation the other day?
Yeah. So
I did.
Yeah, my opinion as I read through our charter provisions, the exception for serving as law enforcement. The intent of my comment was that there is no exception for part-time.
Okay.
It's if you're engaged in the activity of law enforcement with a department, any department, then you disqualify.
Okay.
That sounds like a kind of a good thing to have too, as weird as it is. So that'd be my recommendation, but I'll take a motion if council wants to go open for applications till next meeting. I'm okay with that too.
Mr. Mayor, I would be most comfortable with opening up applications to give everybody a chance to apply for that.
Make a motion.
I will make the motion to.
So we'll ask Jim to submit his resignation, and we'll open for applications until the next council meeting.
Yeah.
Good. Second for that.
Second.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Last item under myself. Let's see, I got it right here. So we do have on the recreation board, we have Shelley Valentini wants to get on the rec board to fill. We have 2 openings. One is a partial, one is a full. It ended February 2022, so we have a full term. So the recommendation would be to appoint Shelley Valentini to the rec board for a full term.
Which is what, 4 years?
2 years. Meets first Monday of each month, Shelley, if you're listening, 4 p.m., City Hall. Looking for motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second.
Support.
Shannon, thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys ready to go home? I'll look for motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, April. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. All in favor, say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a good night. She wasn't even as bad as I thought it was going to be. I really was scared when we all started talking and having a good time at the beginning.